Welcome to the ACC on ESPN. One of 8 remaining unbeatens in college football, the Miami Hurricanes on the road this lovely Saturday afternoon in a place they've struggled, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to battle the Tar Heels. Thanks for joining us. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer, Chris Budden downstairs. And look, Miami's had 3 straight one-score games. They have 2 big games, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, after this. So what can they take from this game?
Well, what Mark Richt wants them to take is a dominating performance. Those close games came because they couldn't close people out. And on the offensive side of the ball, it's about Malik Rozier doing better in a couple of areas. Third down percentage, he needs to be better. Red zone, they need more TDs and less threes. But I have a suggestion. Get the ball to Amon Richards, who seems to be much healthier today than he has been.
Yeah, mentally healthy as well. He had 4 drops in the game against Syracuse last week, and it took his roommate Rozier to say, look, keep your head up. Richards thought for a moment that he might not even finish the game, and after the freshman year he had, he's a key component for the unbeaten Hurricanes, who have deferred. And Anthony Ratliff-Williams and the Tar Heels in their new jerseys on the return. Down he goes just across the 10-yard line. So tough field position as Amari Carter made the tackle. Chaz Surratt, redshirt freshman quarterback, he will likely get all the snaps today because Brandon Harris is out with an injury for North Carolina. Surratt, very young quarterback. The idea this year was to let him come after being issued walk-on status for Roy Williams. Let him come and be kind of the package quarterback and let Harris start, but that didn't happen.
No, and there are a lot of pieces missing around him, and he's a dual threat guy, but today he just has to execute the basic stuff for this offense.
Jordan Brown hit by R.J. McIntosh, and he's without his freshman running back, Michael Carter. He's out with injury. What do you do as a quarterback when everything's crumbling?
That's a good question, but as a quarterback, you always have to play within the design of the scheme, and that's what this young quarterback Surratt has to do today.
A lot of motion they're going to run. This is Daz Newsome, and a third down coming up. I mean, you said it earlier on SportsCenter, Miami's rush defense has been gashable at points this year, surprisingly.
Yeah, and that's probably the best thing that North Carolina has done, although that hasn't been great. But it's this down and distance where you really have to be careful if you're North Carolina early in this one.
Coaches were telling us yesterday, Chris Kapilovic, the offensive coordinator, they just want a first down on this opening drive to kind of stabilize themselves. That's a slight pipe dream right now on 3rd and long for Surratt, who does have time, and it's incomplete. Dropped by Newsome, a little behind him, and punt time for Carolina.
Great protection, bad throw. Daz Newsome was one-on-one inside, a high safety, man-to-man underneath. North Carolina had exactly what they wanted, and Surratt just did not put the ball on Newsome. That was a huge missed opportunity early in this one.
By the way, if you think the injuries were troublesome on the offensive side, the special teams has been hit as well. Hunter Lent is in for Tom Sheldon. The second punter, booting it to Braxton Berrios, who keeps his feet. And he is to midfield. Great field position for the Hurricanes. Something the Carolina defense has seen too much this year. A short field behind them. As Rozier, the redshirt junior, who knew that he would end up in this position after Mark Richt told him that he wasn't going to play for him because he was a little too flashy, Rozier said.
That's not what you want to hear. You're never going to play for me. And then there was the qualification that came later. Unless you do a couple of things. Have better practice habits, work on your feet, and play within the system. Mark Richt is a systematic teacher, and he needed his quarterback to get on the same page.
Former baseball player. First start ever was in the Research Triangle a couple of years ago against Duke, as Travis Homer gets upended for a loss of 2 by M.J. Stewart. But that start 2 years ago for Rozier, his first start, was the game after Al Golden was fired. He said it was a crazy week. And Mark Richt now taking over that job. Rozier has fallen in favor.
Yeah, how would you have responded? You're never going to play for me. Pause. Unless you do a few things. And it went from doubt to motivation, and he's playing really well currently.
And so is the Carolina defense in the first quarter of games. A short field for Miami, but Carney makes the stop, and it's going to be 3rd down and 10.
Yeah, John Papuchis is getting his guys on the defensive side to play very, very well. Great on 3rd down, really good in the red zone. They've eliminated or at least limited explosive plays, but down in distances like this, 3rd and 10, is where North Carolina has to live today and get off the field by making one play right here.
Play action, Rozier. Pocket holds up, it is incomplete. Barrios the intended target, and Carolina's defense holds the line at midfield.
This has been the script after about the first 2 weeks. Carolina's defense plays well even after a quick 3 and out by the offense. That man-match combo coverage on the back end, it's somewhat like Florida State likes to do, and that's the look that gave Malik Rozier fits earlier in the year.
He's been very good against the blitz, but not against a lack of a rush. So Feagles sprays this one to MJ Stewart, and Carolina will have it once again in the shadow of its own end zone. Miami still unbeaten, trying to make a statement today. Unbeaten, Chris Budden chatted with Mark Richt a little earlier. What did he tell you, Chris?
Well, I asked him before the game, how do you get out of these one-score games? And he says, really, it just boils down to the fact that we haven't played our best football yet. It's due to some bad passes, some drop passes as well. But there's nothing of the idea that it's a lack of concentration. They just, in his words, haven't really whooped up on anyone yet.
And you put yourself in danger in college football by doing that, don't you?
Yeah, and you're looking down the road, really. Coaches don't like to do that, but you have Virginia Tech followed by Notre Dame, so they need one of those whoopings today if they can get it together.
Jordan Brown, the tailback, breaks a tackle, and he's across the 20. Brown down the sideline, turns it into more. Jordan Brown inside the 35. 56 yards on a huge play for Carolina.
And we know that North Carolina is not only going to need their running game, but their running game is going to have to produce gash plays like we see right here when Jordan gets loose down the sideline.
Another run for Brown. Chris. Well, Chris was telling us about playing a complete game for Mark Richt, and certainly that 56-yard run is not what he was looking for from his rush defense.
No, that's the one glaring mark in that Manny Diaz defense. It's 180-plus yards per game on the ground, and that rush by Jordan is not going to help Jordan Brown. It's not going to help that number for the Kings.
That was his longest run of the year by 33 yards, and he's going to be the bell cow today with the injury to his co-running back as Surratt takes it down to the 26.
And Jay, we're getting a little glimpse into what North Carolina thinks they have to do. It's the power running game. They're relocating offensive linemen. They call it a gap scheme. So you're relocating linemen, pulling them to another gap. That time it was Jordan Brown actually leading, an offensive line following him, and then the quarterback on a power run.
3rd down and short. Carolina has struggled on 3rd down this year as Brown leans forward for it to the 24. Demetrius Jackson, the redshirt junior defensive lineman, made the stop, and they're going to have maybe 11 DL players today.
And North Carolina is just getting a play and moving the chains. They want to possess the football, and to some extent you can use the aggressiveness of Miami's defense against them. A little misdirection and a little movement before the snap.
Jazz Surratt to throw on 1st down. And he's got his man, Daz Newsome, to the 1-yard line. Beautiful throw and catch.
And it's amazing what a quarterback can do when he has protection and he has a guy running a route that gets separation, as North Carolina is going to hurry up on the goal line.
Brown the back. Jordan Brown driving the legs. Touchdown! He got in.
Jordan Brown does a great job of finishing after contact. Keep your legs moving. And North Carolina talked to us yesterday about needing something good to happen early. Well, that's what good looks like here today.
Yeah, but they undershot, Kel. They wanted a first down on the first drive.
No kidding.
They got a touchdown on the second drive.
Yeah, they understated their goals to us, apparently.
So this is going to go to replay, and replay official Bruce Palmer, but it looked to me like he was in. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think Jordan Brown did a very good job of kind of running through contact, keeping your legs moving, and I think he did break the goal line before his knee was down. There was a lot of contact early, but I don't think it impeded him or prevented him from getting to the goal line. Michael Pinckney was the one that made the good contact. It's where the knee down and where the ball is. And actually, he might be about a half a yard short, Jason, based on that look right there that is essentially looking right down the goal line. You have to pierce the very front of that white line before something other than the foot or the hand of the ball carrier is down.
And again, you have to start with the call on the field, which was touchdown. So you'd need indisputable video evidence to overturn. Question is that here?
As the momentum is stopped, the knee goes down before the ball is shown to go over the goal line. I think this is going to be overturned, and it's going to be inside of about a half a yard short. That's a great look at it, and that's exactly what the replay booth is supposed to be looking at as well. We tallied the knee down, the ball was across the goal line.
It was determined that the runner's knee down with the ball 1 foot short of the goal line. It will be second down and goal from the 1 foot line.
Well, the good news for Carolina is they have been pretty good at red zone touchdowns once they're there, 68% for the season.
Yeah, the problem is the getting down there, right? Finishing hasn't been their issue once they're there, but you're right. This foot right here that they have, North Carolina has to go to get in the end zone is vitally important early against Miami.
A very tough defensive line and linebacker crew for the Hurricanes. Second down and goal for Surratt and Brown, and it's Brown, and he's stacked up. He lost a yard and a half. Chad Thomas was in there first. Third and goal.
If Surratt can take a snap from under the center, this is the time to do it. That's what I don't like about the gun stop, is you snap it 4 yards deep to get a foot.
He's rolling out this time. The throwback is incomplete. Demetrius Jackson got a hand on it, and now what do you do if you're Larry Fedora?
I think you do something similar that you just did. You get Surratt outside the pocket, but give him a run pass option on 4th and goal. Right now, why do you not want to go for it? Make something happen early. Well, something isn't 3 when you're a foot away. Something is a touchdown. I don't think Larry Fedora even considered anything else.
You don't want points to take the lead?
I want a touchdown to give me hope.
Surratt play action. Under pressure, down he goes. Shaq Quarterman dragged him down. Points were on the board. Replay took him off. And Larry Fedora tries to go for it. It was Shaq Quarterman with the stop.
Good defenses do this, right, Jason?
They do.
They bail you out, and I don't mind the call, to be perfectly honest with you.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And Chevy, the only brand to earn J.D. Power Dependability Awards for cars, trucks, and SUVs 2 years in a row.
Well, it's hoop season here at Carolina. You saw Luke May with the dunk. He became big man on campus last year with the shot against Kentucky. Kind of like what's happened to Darrell Langham at Miami, the wide receiver who had the big juggling catch against Georgia Tech, the game winner against Florida State. He said random people are coming up to him on campus just to say thanks as a flag's going to come in on the pre-snap movement. By the way, Carolina did win last night.
Defense, number 97, 5-yard penalty. First down.
You're still disagreeing with me about whether North Carolina should have gone for it, right?
Yeah, I think you take the points.
I think when you're a foot away, you think you scored a touchdown, the touchdown comes off the board. I think a field goal is just as deflating as not getting anything.
That just happened.
You get a shot at it, though. You had a shot at getting a touchdown. I think that was, in the end, no more deflating than getting 3.
Well, the official got in the way as Travis Homer gets free and turns it upfield into Carolina territory. It's a gain of 35 and a pick play from the official.
The official made a great rob to free up Travis Homer. And the way that the coverage works on the back end for North Carolina as we have a North Carolina player down, you get brackets outside, and you're going to get a bracket, a double team on Amon Richards a lot, and also Braxton Berrios. And so it's the one-on-one with Homer as a running back and also Christopher Herndon on that tight end position that are going to be difficult matchups. And that's a great look at it right there. Homer one-on-one with the nickel back, and if Homer wins, there isn't a lot of help in the middle of the field.
Well, you've got Miles Doran chasing and Troy Riley the umpire, and there's nothing he can do to get out of the way. It just happens to be the perfect pick play if you're Miami. As Cason Collins, the senior linebacker, is down. They're without Andre Smith and Jonathan Smith. Dominique Ross, the linebacker, as well. So now Collins comes off, and the question is, who's it going to be?
Yeah. You have a dart, I have a board here. Chuck it over here, and we'll see who goes in.
The injuries for North Carolina continue to mount. You're talking about 17 guys out for the year, 12 on the offensive side. They can barely play 2 tight end sets at this point with the injury to Carl Tucker earlier this season. And now it's just a matter of trying to stay afloat at 1-7 with the only win against Old Dominion. Rozier goes, and he's down to the 41. You thought he might run a little bit more today against Carolina, which just doesn't have as many guys as you'd like to have. Just the sheer numbers of it, it's truly astounding.
It really is, and it's really devastated both sides of the ball. The defense, I think there are about a dozen or more out on the offensive side. I really haven't seen anything like that in football in covering it from this perspective.
Ever. Early movement again, and we'll see who this one's on.
Offside. Defense. Number 33. 5-yard penalty resulting in a first down.
It's on Alan Cater, 33 for Carolina, their second offside.
The defensive end, Cater, is matched up on K.C. McDermott, just trying to get a jump and get after the passer that particular time. And McDermott, from that left tackle position, has probably been the most consistent offensive lineman for Miami this season.
Had some injuries on that line as Rozier loads up for the deep ball down the sideline, and it's incomplete. Berrios the target, KJ Sales with the defense, and John Papuch, as the defensive coordinator, said KJ Sales has got to win on Saturday.
And this is why a lot of times KJ Sales is going to end up outside on a vertical without any help. And if he wins like this, North Carolina's defense certainly is going to play very, very well today. Berrios has been that guy, and he's kind of the X factor from the slot a lot, and the slot getting vertical outside in that particular case.
Blitz coming from the outside. Homer couldn't hang on. There was a cavalcade of white jerseys in front as Jeremiah Clark forced a quick pass, so third down.
North Carolina defensively was very fortunate that that screen did not get all the way to Homer, because it was set up really well. I don't think Homer would have actually met any resistance out of the defense until he had gained about 20 yards.
1 for 4 start today for Malik Rozier.
He's been a slow starter this entire season. That's another area of his game that has to improve before they meet teams like Virginia Tech and Notre Dame in the next 2 weeks.
He's got Richards down at the bottom. Berrios in the slot left, and Rozier to run. Down he goes. Jalen Dalton for Carolina's defense, and now 4th down Miami.
Certainly Mark Richt is going to play field position, and Jalen Dalton does a great job of getting off. Certainly Rozier is a runner, and is that a face mask? I don't know. I think that's a good one that you let go. But once again, a very good job defensively, as there's going to be a long field goal attempt by Miami right here.
Michael Badgley, who's long this year, is 50. This is from 53 for Badgley. It is no good by a lot.
Too much torque on the driver, and you push it right.
Beautiful day to hit him. But no score. Carolina and Miami have given away some chances. Taco Bell is a proud partner of the College Football Playoff. Be on the lookout for Taco Bell student sections and passionate fans like these at games all season long. So Miami goes for the deep ball to Thomas, can't hit, and misses a field goal. So North Carolina takes over across the 35-yard line.
Georgia, white pole.
Chaz Surratt has a couple linemen in front, and down he goes after a couple yards. Chris Button.
Jason, North Carolina's offense not very frustrated by not scoring on that previous drive. Watching them on the sidelines, Chaz Surratt really positive. Josh Cabrera came over. They talked about kind of some misreads, but overall very positive.
Brown on the run. He has been very effective early on. And we were sitting in the meeting room earlier this week, yesterday, and there's a big sign that says stay positive on the board.
You're the only one that was frustrated about not getting 3 on the board. I don't think anybody in this stadium or on North Carolina's sideline was.
Surratt on the roll, a little too hot to handle. Chris, any thoughts of a field goal on that last drive that Carolina had? And a flag has come in as well, so we'll check that.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer on the defense, number 53. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That's Zach McLeod for Miami.
And McLeod does hit the quarterback, but I didn't think it was that late, and that flag was extremely late coming out. The official looked at it for quite some time. I do not believe that that's a penalty. I think it was a bang-bang play. Zach McLeod was ready to unload on the quarterback when the ball was thrown. I don't believe that was a late hit. Personal foul.
We're going to be asking the question, is it targeting as well, possibly?
I thought his head was up, and I didn't see him, McLeod, deliver a blow above the shoulders in the head and neck. So I think we're safe that way.
We'll see what Surratt can do when we come back. Carolina may have quarterback number 3, Nathan Elliott, coming in. Surratt still down, no score. It's a double reverse, and Ratliff the pass. Nathan Elliott, the 3rd quarterback inside the 5. Well, he threw the ball a little last year. Here he catches the ball for North Carolina with Surratt out. Nathan Elliott, wide receiver. He rolls out, and it's incomplete on the short hop for Ratliff. And 2nd and goal. So his first play, Nathan Elliott does the pass catching. A redshirt sophomore out of the state of Texas who came in for a couple of games last year. James Madison got his first playing time of his career against Illinois last season, behind Mitchell Trubisky. He'll let Brown do the work this time, and he slams on the brakes. Zach McLeod, who had the roughing the passer penalty that knocked Surratt out with the stop, 3rd and goal.
And once again, North Carolina is doing the hard work by getting down here, but you have to finish. They finished great in the red zone 68% of the time, as we see Surratt warming up on the sideline and is looking as if at least he has the potential to come back in the game. But man, does North Carolina need to end up in the end zone right here.
Third down for Elliott. He throws incomplete for Daz Newsome. And North Carolina now, after no thought of a field goal from inside the 5, will kick it this time, it seems.
And the run pass option, the quick play fake of the zone up inside, and Daz Newsome gets loose. That ball has to be on him by the young quarterback and Nathan Elliott. And North Carolina closes that out in the end zone. Once again, one more missed opportunity for North Carolina offensively.
So it's a 24-yard try for Freeman Jones they're left with. But for a Miami team that wanted to play a complete game, down 3-0 to 1-7 North Carolina, under 5 to go in the first quarter, isn't exactly the hope.
Not looking like it.
Allstate is proud to be part of the team that comes together to do good by contributing to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds.
Well, Jason, you talked about that. Mark Richt looking for that complete game, kind of that dominating type of game, and putting both sides of the ball together. They've been very good in special teams and at times very good on both sides of the ball, but they're just not closing out drives in the red zone, not good on third down offensively. The defense typically has been really good, especially in the red zone, which we've already seen. But the one area is Miami's defense will allow teams to run on them a bit, and we've seen North Carolina have a bit of success already in this first quarter.
Well, Mark Richt, back to his university where he started his college career, trying to get this team on the board as we check in for the first time today with Chris Cotter.
All right, guys, time for an AT&T Field Pass. Tell me if you've seen this one before. Oklahoma State's Mason Rudolph finds James Washington. He takes it the rest of the way. Over on ABC, it's the Pokes with the early lead over West Virginia, guys.
It's a good game in the Big 12. An even bigger game maybe later on in the 3:30 Eastern window with TCU and Iowa State. Weather could be a problem.
Weather could be an issue, and we had Iowa State earlier in Ames against their arch rival from Iowa City, and that is a different club under Matt Campbell.
Evan Sheriffs is in at quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes. So backup quarterbacks galore. Rozier is out, as is Chaz Surratt. DJ Dallas is the tailback to the second team offense for Miami. And a quick throw to Berrios, the slot receiver. He's dragged down right at the line of scrimmage by Miles Dorn.
And the
interesting choice here.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that speaks more to the slow starts that Rozier has suffered under. And the offense has been kind of slow starting because the quarterback gets off slow. And so maybe just a change up by Sheriffs. Remember, Mark Richt is one. He knows how to handle quarterbacks, and an early hook by Rozier, maybe just to get a different perspective from the sideline.
Just the third pass all year there from Sheriffs, whose brother is the starting quarterback at Connecticut. Sheriffs has it batted back in his face. Malik Carney got the hand up. It's third down for the Carolina defense, and the momentum swinging viciously.
Yeah, and Carolina's defense is living in a good place, but Carney just gets a push and then gets his hand up. He's not going to get to Sheriffs. Next best thing is you can affect the passing lane, and that's exactly what Carney does. And Rozier was in the locker room for an unexplained reason, and he's back on the sideline now. We'll see if we can get a report onto why he left the field.
Third down. Sheriffs gets away from Drennan, loads up a throw, and he misses as we check in with Chris.
Malik Rozier had to go to the locker room to check out his shoulder. That's all the information I know. As soon as I find out more, I'll let you guys know.
Chris, thank you. So we'll see if Rozier comes out for that next series for Miami. But what we do know is about 11 minutes in, this isn't exactly the case they wanted to make to the college football playoff jury.
No, not exactly. The last impression before that committee meets for the first time. So we'll see how this ends, but not a good start for Miami.
5 unbeatens away from home today in college football. We'll check in on what's going on elsewhere with Chris Cotter.
How about Champaign? Wisconsin at Illinois. Jonathan Taylor, this freshman running back's been sensational, but not so much here. Just out of bounds at the 1, so it's 4th and goal. Badgers opt to go for it. This time they go with the fullback. Alec Ingold just powers his way in. 7-0 over on ESPN.
Another one of those undefeateds on the road.
Yeah.
Pretty dependable. They can defend the run, defend all the way around, and then they can also run the football themselves. He has a look of a guy, that's Malik Rozier right there. He has a look of a guy that's coming back in. That's just my impression.
Jazz Surratt is not coming back in right now for North Carolina. It's Elliott to steer the offense again. Surratt injured on the previous drive on the roughing the passer penalty. They run with Brown, and he is stacked up. Tonight, 8 Eastern, ABC or ESPN2. How about this? Georgia Tech and Clemson at the same time as Texas Tech and number 10 Oklahoma. Check your local listings or watch them both by using the ESPN app. It's no question, watch them both is the answer.
I think Clemson wins big.
You do?
I do. I think their bye week came at the right time. I think Kelly Bryant is healthier, and Brent Venables' defense has been horrendously good.
Brown to the 34. Yeah, against a triple option especially.
Yeah. I think the last time they were in Death Valley, Paul Johnson's offense, that triple option, only had 71 yards. But look at that. And it's a player's game. You just get after him in a phone booth, and I think Brent Venables' defense can do exactly that at a level that not many defenses in the country can.
Third down's been tough for both teams so far today in a low-scoring game. Elliott with the throw on the slant. He has Cunningham at a first down and more for North Carolina. 14 yards. The 1-7 Tar Heels with some early gumption at home. That run's going nowhere. Hurricanes everywhere. R.J. McIntosh got in, the junior who knocked a couple of balls down last week against Syracuse. But look, Carolina is playing its heart out right now.
And that's what success looks like offensively for Carolina, is they're going to have to run it successfully, but they're going to have some really timely clutch passing as well, as we saw in that third down conversion.
Outgaining Miami by 100 yards plus. Mike Smith running into Elliott. It's third down coming up. Question is, do they change their pace with the lead in this game? They want to go fast generally.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do, at least initially. They want to run it successfully, timely passing, but they do want to push the pace. It was the formationing and motioning along with the pace, which was a big part of this game plan. But in order to go fast, Jason, you have to be efficient, and right now they're doing enough of that.
Pressure coming. Elliott steps up, wanted to throw, now he runs and breaking tackles. He's going to be about a yard short. Thomas got in there first. Johnson the tackle, 4th and 1. What do you do?
I think you throw down the hammer right here, just exactly what Fedora did early. I think right here you go for it. You're in situations where it gives you an opportunity. You don't want to just play close. You want to try to make something happen. I think 4th and 1 early in this one is the time to do that.
Crown of the helmet possibly on that tackle for Johnson. No stoppage from the booth. 4th down for North Carolina. Sutton the tailback. And timeout North Carolina. They're not going to snap it, at least for now.
What do you think about this? You didn't agree with the goal line situation. of not at least putting 3 on the board. How about right here?
Well, I'd say up 6-0, you definitely go for it, but that's not an option at this point because of the earlier choice. So, look, you have really legitimately nothing to lose at this point. But field
It's
position.
not exactly a game plan.
Well, here's what so Miami is on its backup quarterback, at least as of the last drive. Maybe you pin them deep here, and you allow your defense to have a little cushion, which they haven't had much this season.
Yeah, that is a really good point, because probably the best chance to score in this game, at least touchdowns, might be North Carolina's defense, right?
Well,
but I don't think that's the way Larry Fedora is necessarily thinking. If we're in a winnable situation, which 4th and 1 right here is, this might be as good as it gets.
They're going to go 4th down and 1. And they decide to run it and get it. Elliott keeps it, declining on Newsome, and it's a 1st down for North Carolina.
It's the use of Daz Newsome, number 19, in that fly motion concept. And it's a fake to him, and Elliott does great ball handling. It was hidden, and then Elliott gets enough just going right down Main Street.
Elliott, a redshirt sophomore who just played against a couple of FCS opponents last year and a little garbage time against Illinois, running the offense against number 8 Miami, and with confidence. So North Carolina at the end of 1 quarter is up 3-0 on Miami.
QX surprise.
Go figure. The college football playoff rankings are coming out in a couple days. We could have havoc on the road for unbeatens this week. Redshirt sophomore out of the Denton area in Texas, Nathan Elliott, has Carolina's offense in his hands, up 3-0. He's in after the injury to Chaz Surratt, but looks like Elliott may have taken the job for now, as Carolina runs it with Brown across the 40 as we check in with Chris.
Guys, North Carolina does not provide in-game injury updates, but I was watching Chaz Surratt on the sidelines when he came out of the medical tent. He threw, he ran, he told trainers, the athletic trainers, that he was good to go, and he's out here on the sidelines with his helmet.
But he's not in, so Elliott looks like he has taken control of the job right now for North Carolina. Chris, thank you. Elliott over the middle has a 1st down across the 30 to his junior Brandon Fritz. So the tight end who's been key gets 8 first down.
And that's why Nathan Elliott is still in the game. What Chris was just talking about, there's a little moxie about this young man. In the run game in particular, there's a really good feel.
Elliott incomplete. Johnson running a deep route. Elliott went short. But here's a guy in Elliott who played for his father in high school, played in the state of Texas, and just took a big lick that time.
Yeah, Nathan Elliott seems to be able to stand in and take the heat. There's another big hit on him there, but it's the feel in the run game in particular. He finds the softness a bit, and in the pass game, he's making good decisions thus far.
Check down to Brown, and he dives to the 25. Redwine with the tackle, Sheldrick, Redwine, and maybe Elliott is a little dinged up.
I think you're fair game if you're on the field in this one. Both defenses are teeing off. Have your head on a swivel. This is money down, though. This is where Nathan Elliott is going to have to prove that he's ready. 3rd and a pass down against a defensive line that will light you up for Miami.
3rd in sacks per game in the country, Miami. Elliott under duress finds some space. He can run for it. He does, and a 1st down for North Carolina. He's shifty in the pocket, isn't he?
He really is. There was a blitz off the corner, and the defensive end comes free, and Elliott gets out on the edge and then makes a great decision. Nobody open, you have room to convert, and he does just that.
Brown this time gets sunk about a yard behind the line by Chad Thomas, so 2nd down and long for North Carolina.
the red zone really needs to pay dividends, because remember that Manny Diaz's defense, it's going to be incessant pressure for the entire game. You have to get a bunch of points while you can, and North Carolina is back down here again.
Blitz coming. Elliott can't get away this time. Sacked by Joe Jackson. Redwine was in there as well.
And this is all about what Manny Diaz believes in. It's an unorthodox approach really on first and second down to create pressure that leads to a third and uncomfortable down for really any offense. And when you have your third quarterback in, who hasn't played a lot this year, this is uncomfortable against this Miami defense. You have points on the board is what you have to be telling yourself as an inexperienced quarterback right here.
Radliff Williams in motion. It's a screen, and it's not going anywhere. That's Trajan Bandy who blew it up. Sutton driven back for a loss of 1, and a long field goal coming for Freeman Jones, who has not been terribly accurate. Bandy, by the way, in because Dee Delaney's been dealing with a knee injury, the Citadel transfer, but they love the way Bandy played against Syracuse, so he's the nickel back. From 42, it would be his long. And it's a fake. Fritz is dropped at the 20-yard line. That's a long way to go for a fake. Shaq Quarterman with the tackle on Fritz. Didn't get the job done for Carolina, but still the lead for the Tar Heels, 3-0. Malik Rozier back to the offense for Miami after a series of Evan Sheriffs, with Rozier getting his shoulder checked on, as Chris Budden told you just moments ago. Rozier will test the shoulder and throw it low to Barrios with a sliding grab. Chris Cotter.
All right, guys, let's check in with Michigan and Rutgers. Now, Rutgers had 39 yards of offense all of last year in their game against Michigan. Janarian Grant goes 65 yards on this one play. They're all knotted up at 7 in the second.
Homer the carry here. Kel, we watched that game live.
I was going to say this. Does Mr. Cotter know we had to witness that in person?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not good.
That was dark and stormy. It was rainy that night, and it deserved to be rainy.
Yeah, not good.
But Rutgers has come back very well. They beat Purdue just a couple of weeks ago. Second down for the Hurricanes, trying to find their footing today. Rozier, incomplete, a little high and behind Thomas. Third down coming up. ESPN app, you got to have it. Stream every college football game on. I know you do, but I was talking to them, not you. ESPN ABC's college football all year long. Scores, news, highlights, everything for you. Download the ESPN app right now, like Kelly did.
I have it.
Miami's over on third down. 32% for the year, 111th in the country. Fox coming. Rozier throws. Sideline route. And incomplete. There was contact. Miles Dorn got into Barrios, and it draws a couple of flags.
Barrios went outside and then turned up, and that's exactly when Miles Dorn reached out and grabbed Barrios as he was going vertical. I think that's when the penalty was called. Doran just needed to look back for the ball, and he would have been in perfect
two fouls on
position.
The play, one on each team. Oof. Holding on the offense, number 74. Pass interference on the defense. Those penalties will offset. Third down.
It's the holding penalty on Tyler Gauthier, the junior center, and then the interference penalty as we expected. So they offset, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, and once again, North Carolina defensively is where they want to be. A third and a passing down. And what you're going to see a lot of times is you're going to see a bracketer doubling both Berrios and Richards, and then outside is where Miami has to win, in particular on the top of the screen in this particular case, the outside of the trip set to the top of the screen.
Rozier just 2 for 7 so far this afternoon. Low snap. Rozier had it behind Berrios, but he saved the day and has a Miami first down. It's a gain of 9.
Rozier is once again not very sharp as we start this second quarter.
Remember what Mark Richt told us during the week? He said, look, there's a difference between a completion and a bullseye.
Yeah.
You've got to allow your receivers to catch and run, and this just isn't up to the standard that Richt sets, the former quarterback.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's about ball placement that turns into yards after the catch, and Berrios did a great job of adjusting to a bad throw by Rozier right there.
Rozier high again, incomplete. MJ Stewart, one of the best players on the defense, second down.
And one of the things that Steve Largent told me, he taught me the art of fine focus. You know, you don't just throw at the receiver, and as a receiver, you don't just catch the ball. You focus on something at the end of the ball in particular. And he talked about pheasant hunting. A guy with him was missing everything in sight, and he said, what are you looking at? I don't know, what are you looking at? Steve said, I'm looking at his eye. That's why I don't miss anything. That's fine focus.
This one is caught. Berrios tackled by Dorn. So third down. That one wasn't exactly a bullseye either.
No, and Mark Richt has been there. He's been a quarterback. He teaches quarterbacks. He's done a very good job with it. So it's about ball placement, right shoulder, left shoulder, front hip, back shoulder throw, all of those things that allow receivers to do something with it afterwards. And quarterbacks can also throw away from coverage. You don't throw at a receiver, you throw at a fine focused spot on a receiver, and Malik Rozier is showing signs he's not real adept at doing that yet.
Richards out, Langham in, third down Miami. Rozier is high, and this is going to be very close. Jeff Thomas with the catch, and he looked like he got a favorable spot.
That's one of those one-on-one matchups outside with Jeff Thomas. Matched up one-on-one and running a curl route, thrown outside a little bit high, but Thomas does a great job of snatching it. And based on where the ball was spotted, I think this is going to move the chains. Man, you love it when receivers go up there and just snatch the ball. About 6 inches short.
I even think he might have been shorter than that, Kelly, based on the replay. You could make the argument that he's even further behind that. Right now, though, what do you do if you're Mark Richt?
And line to gain is certainly reviewable. What I do if I'm Mark Richt to get some juice in my offense is I put my quarterback underneath the center behind a massive offensive line and say, pick up 6 yards or you probably don't deserve to win this football game. Or 6 inches, actually.
So many close games for Miami. 3 straight one-score games. They'll go I with Homer the tail. Rozier puts his head down and has the first down for the Hurricanes. So some grit from the redshirt junior out of Mobile to move the chains.
And that was one of those areas that Mark Richt said was a question mark coming in. We needed our offensive line to improve. He said that's exactly what they've done. More continuity up front. Those guys up front are doing a very good job getting better run fits as the season has gone along.
Top 50 rushing team, the Miami Hurricanes. And that's even without Mark Walton, who was injured a couple of weeks ago. Homer put into that starting position. Here is Homer, who was waiting for the hit to come from Woolfolk, and it's second down.
People need to tune in and watch this defense from North Carolina. I mean, we saw that on tape for the last several weeks. This team is playing lights out, and living next door to them is an offense that hasn't had a pulse for most of the season. And that actually amplifies the job that John Papuchis has done with this group on the defensive side.
And you would think there might be some antagonism between defense and offense, but Papuchis said that is not the case. as this run doesn't go for much, so third down. And part of the reason that's not the case, because there's less anger than you would expect, is because the offense has carried the load the last couple of years. Papuchis said, look, if you're going to get mad at the offense right now, think about what we've done to them in the past.
Yeah, I've been on teams where the offense has been dreadful, which isn't good if you're the quarterback, but I've been the other way too, where a defense couldn't stop anybody. You're a team regardless of how things are going.
Saw Papuchis in the beard in the middle of the screen there, the defensive coordinator. Third down, low snap to Rozier. It's tipped and incomplete. North Carolina's defense has been airtight so far, other than one big play.
And it wasn't immediate pressure, but it was just the guys up front continuing to push the pocket, and Rozier just simply did not get anyone on it. I think it was a tip by Strobridge right there late coming in, and it's affecting the quarterback. You don't have to always get the quarterback on the ground.
Rozier and Richt part after a short discussion. This punt goes into the end zone from Fiegels. And so North Carolina has it at the 20, under 7 to go, first half.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by the exceptionally indulgent Lexus ES. Go ahead, spoil yourself.
What did you do before the game? Some alumni and their families climbed a 172-foot bell tower for fun before the game here at Kenan Stadium. Just a beautiful setting for college football.
It really is, and a beautiful day for college football, and a game that we didn't really expect.
You didn't?
No, not really.
1-7 North Carolina and unbeaten Miami.
The beauty of college football, though, is we said this. You know, it seems like this probably shouldn't be a good game. That's exactly why it might be, and here we go.
More motion for North Carolina. Daz Newsome on the fly sweep with a loss. Later today, another one of those unbeatens on the road. TCU is in Ames against Matt Campbell's Cyclones. Horned Frogs have won the last 4 in the series, 3:30 Eastern, ABC or ESPN2. Check your local listings or just click on the app. Play it from there. Nathan Elliott goes to Ratliff Williams. Little step through for him, and it's third down and manageable for North Carolina. Iowa State trying to buck some history today.
Oh, man, that's brutal. And speaking of Cyclones, though, the weather's supposed to be an issue. And if you think of how those teams play, both teams are probably going to have to, if the weather holds, run the football more than they throw it. And that actually might favor Iowa State just a little bit.
Elliott with some touch to the sideline and incomplete. Newsome got hung up, and a flag does come in. Looked like Robert Knowles made some contact, and we'll check the marker.
Defense, number 20, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Yeah, Newsome was coming out of his break running the corner route, and Knowles grabbed him, and the reason it's holding and not pass interference is the ball wasn't in the air yet. And it's going to be inside number 20 as Robert Knowles. And then right there, it was a great move by Daz Newsome going outside, and the defensive back Knowles reached out and grabbed the front of the receiver Newsome.
First down, North Carolina. Miami has scuffled with penalties this year as well. Elliott, the play fake. He lobs it to the sideline. Some hand fighting, and Fritz goes up to high point it against Jackson. What a catch by Brandon Fritz.
Well, that's a definition of a 50-50 ball. You give it to your 6'4", 250-pound tight end and say, go get him, big boy. And Fritz does it right there.
It was Bo Corrales with the catch for North Carolina. So Corrales with the beautiful grab, and it's going to be second down for North Carolina. Corrales, just his third catch of the year. The freshman goes up to get it.
I had noted Fritz, but it's 1-6'4" receiver for the other one, and Corrales was outside, matched up one-on-one with Jackson, and typically Miami, both in the secondary and their own receivers, win those balls more times than not. That time it was all Bo Corrales.
Second down, North Carolina. He's going for him again. Corrales with the catch. He's doubled his season production on the last couple of grabs. First down.
And Corrales is matched up man-to-man outside on Bandy, and that's really more of a slot corner, true freshman, on a competent receiver.
This one's down at the line, so second down for North Carolina. How about the Tar Heels bleeding some time off, but playing a little tempo as well, and they've used 8 different receivers today too.
I mean, everything right now in this game has gone in favor of North Carolina. They've been able to sustain it on offense and make some plays, some timely plays, but they have to start finishing with things in the end zone.
Josh Cabrera is in at the bottom of the formation. Elliott spraying it around. This one's incomplete. Dropped by Newsom. And third down for North Carolina.
And that was a run-pass option, and it might have actually just been called a play-action pass where you fake the zone up inside, and then the quarterback throws it over top of that as you invite those second-level defenders up into the line of scrimmage. And that would have been a good catch, but it was a catchable pass just as the contact was made.
Brown in motion. Quick throw on the screen, and that's going nowhere. Roscoe Johnson with his first grab. It's a loss of 3. Chris?
Jason, I've been watching Freeman Jones, North Carolina's kicker, on the sidelines, and he has been stretching an awful lot and hitting the back of his right hamstring. So perhaps that's gone into some of the decision-making on fourth down today.
Yeah, and Chris, I watched him before the game, and he was coming up short, actually going into this end of the field, coming up short on some just like this, a little bit deeper than this as well. And the theme was not enough leg at times.
Long for the season is 39. This one from 45. They faked it last time. Miami backs off, and Jones strikes it through. 6-0 Tar Heels, under 4 to go first half. How about it? You never know in college football. You never know. The college football playoff rankings coming out in a couple of days. Carolina trying to upset an apple cart. Nathan Elliott came into this game 0 for 3 so far this season at quarterback. It's been Brandon Harris and Chaz Surratt, but Harris was out for the game. Surratt was injured on a roughing the passer penalty, and now Carolina's got a quarterback. It's Nathan Elliott.
He's from Texas. He's tough, and I'll tell you what, there's some moxie going on there in the run game, the pass game. It's timely. He feels comfortable. All good stuff out of Nathan Elliott.
Surratt can only watch as Thomas takes a knee. Chris Cotter.
All right, a couple of games to tell you about. Let's start with Michigan and Rutgers. We showed you Rutgers scoring on that long play. Michigan comes right back. Teron Higdon powers his way into the end zone, just finds his way. 14-7 right now, Michigan on top. And John Walford for Wake Forest finds Greg Dortch for the second time today. It's all Deeks right now, 21-3 over Louisville.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's the revenge game because of the Tommy Elrod stuff from last year.
We had that game, too. That's a reunion for us, that report that Chris Cotter just gave. We were at that bloodletting in Michigan-Rutgers, and then we were at the week after the old Elrod breakout.
It's welcome back Kelly and Jason, ... Cotter. Miami runs it. Trayon Gray in the backfield. The ACC, 4 teams in the top 14 starting the week. NC State has the run at the Atlantic right now. The Coastal becomes a complete mess if Miami loses here.
Yeah, you can't figure that out right now. There isn't any doubt about it. And I think Clemson, to me, still comes out of this league. I think they come out of the bye week healthier with an attitude adjustment by Dabo Swinney, and I think they're going to play well against Georgia Tech today.
Rozier has it batted away. Cole Holcomb stepped in front. 3rd down, and FPI suggests that you're right about Clemson, by the way.
I'm more right than that suggests. I'm going to bet on that as well. I would put that percentage up a little bit, especially what we're witnessing in person with Miami currently. I would put Clemson up into pushing about 60% before this year's out.
You don't think the Jackets are going to give them a game tonight?
No, I don't. I think Brent Venables and that defense is going to completely shut down that triple option offense.
Miami 1 for 6 on 3rd down. Rozier has a strike to the 44, and Jeff Thomas for the Hurricane 1st down.
Amon Richards is still playing today, right? We haven't heard a whole lot from him, and I think that says a lot about North Carolina defensively, bracketing Richards as much as they possibly can to take him away. So far, so good.
And using M.J. Stewart, their best corner, on him as well. Rozier wants the deep ball, and that was intended for Richards. 2nd down.
I believe that's the first time that Richards has actually been targeted today, and that was a move where they actually invite that bracket coverage. Richards attacks the inside portion of it and then splits them and goes vertical, and that ball was overthrown. Initially, Richards had one step, and then Hammy looked pretty good on that play.
4 drops last week for Richards, including 1 on the goal line in the opening drive. He said M.J. Stewart hounding him so far this afternoon, and the run game can't get untracked. Travis Homer hit by Strobridge. 3rd down.
And I think that's why North Carolina has been so successful, that basically John Papuchis has made Miami really one-handed.
And Richards currently, Kel, is not on the field. Langham plays the same position. They each play that field side. So it's 3rd down. The top side of the field is Langham. Rozier to throw. He's got the tight end. Herndon off the spin is gone. Touchdown Hurricanes. Christopher Herndon, a matchup nightmare for 51 yards.
Well, we talked about one of the area when your outside receivers are being bracketed is the tight end Herndon. And he's just going to get down the middle of the field, get over top of the coverage, and the ball arrives very well before the safety can get there. Miles Dorn was just a little bit too late, and a well-placed ball by Rozier.
This is the half that encapsulates what Miami's done the last 3 weeks. Close games, but making enough plays. Herndon gets him in here for the lead.
Welcome back to Chapel Hill, where we have somewhat of a surprise, but Miami just struck with their big tight end Herndon. He's going to clear the second-level defender, and before the offside safety, J.K. Britt can respond. It's a perfect throw by Rozier, and the big tight end gets into the end zone. Don't blink, because Miami can do stuff like that offensively.
Carolina gets it at the 25 after this from Chris Cotter.
All right, guys, Dave and Buster's halftime report coming your way in just a little bit. Chip Kelly is here. Emmanuel Acho is here as well, so we're glad to have him. We're going to talk about this Oklahoma State game, show you highlights of that game, plus Texas also involved in the Big 12, and a look ahead at some of the great games we have later on today. It's all coming up. We'll see you then, Dave and Buster.
Oh, lots of great games later on. Clemson, Georgia Tech, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, TCU, Iowa State. The upstart Cyclones have played very well. And another half here from Chapel Hill, by the way.
North Carolina, Miami's turning into an unexpectedly good game.
So how do they decide to play this with under 2 minutes to go and the ball at the 25? They will run on 1st down. The ESPN app is your fans' best friend as Miami calls for a timeout. Stream every game live. You're mentioning some of those great games later on. You can watch them all with your app. Multiple devices. Do it. Scores, news, highlights, everything. Download the ESPN app to start streaming right now. Miami with the second longest win streak in the nation at 11. Unbeaten. South Florida, UCF down at 17 and 18 as well. You don't think you don't agree with me that USF and UCF, if they both were to somehow stay unbeaten, you don't think they should be in the college football playoff? I do.
I don't. And I think the committee doesn't either. See Western Michigan from a year ago. And I do believe strength of schedule is relevant in the end. It may not be right now, but it is as the season goes along.
Elliott, incomplete. That ball sailed. My only argument would be to stay unbeaten in college football is maybe the most difficult thing to do because of the amount of focus it takes for 18 to 22-year-olds.
And I agree with that, but I think it comes down to the strength of schedule and the gauntlet that you have to run in some of these conferences versus some of the other conferences. And so I don't think it's comparing apples to apples at all.
Third down for North Carolina. Miami did expend the one timeout to save some time for the offense. Elliott loads of time. Rolling out. Elliott flicks it sideline and incomplete. They almost had to bust out the turnover chain. Fritz was covered by Malik Young, and it's punt time for North Carolina at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. There's a minute 41 left, and Miami's going to inherit this ball probably in decent field position with Barrios back to receive this punt. And Miami does have 2 timeouts left. I think this is a dangerous position right now for North Carolina, who have played a tremendous first half in every aspect of the game.
Just the one explosive play for Miami, the 51-yard touchdown for Herndon. Hunter Lent, line drive, bouncy kick inside the 30, and that comes at a very opportune moment. 51 yards for Lent. As we take a look at this week's AP rankings, brought to you by PlayStation. Penn State, Ohio State later on, TCU, Iowa State, Wisconsin leading right now. Notre Dame, NC State is an important game as well.
Very important. I think that's a great game, and I think Ohio State is ranked too high right there.
You do?
Yeah. They spit the bit against Oklahoma early in the year, and they essentially haven't played anyone since then.
So you're okay with certain one-loss teams dropping, but not others?
It's all about who you played, not who you are.
Miami trying to strike quickly. Rozier giving ground, floats it out to Homer. Wide open grass in front. He dodges Sales and gets to the 39. First down, Hurricanes.
And Mark Richt, the play caller, goes to a screen pass on the first play of a 2-minute situation, and it's prototypical. Draw or screen, see what happens, and then we reassess the drive from there.
Interesting, they would run on first down. Jalen Dalton drives Homer back, and timeout Miami, their second timeout. All right, so with this timeout, let's see what's rolling around in your brain. Who are your top 4?
You're going to love this. Isn't any question about I'm going to get debate from you based on where we've already gone. Alabama, you don't mind that. Penn State, obviously have a pretty big game today. TCU's on the road to Ames, and then Georgia. And after that, I like Clemson, I like Wisconsin. And then there are really, I think, a half dozen to maybe 8 teams that could jump into this list before it's all said and done. So I don't like that look on your face from.
Well, you said a half dozen teams. I think the Hurricane fans aren't going to be very happy with you about
They're
that.
one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they could be happy with that.
The U doesn't like being one of those.
They're one of about 6 or 8 that come after those 4 that I just showed on the screen.
Oh, snap dropped by Rozier, and it might be time to white flag this drive if you're Miami. They do have 1 timeout left, and the Hurricanes are going to burn that timeout.
I think this is just a matter of focus. The most basic things, and that ball actually looked like it was snapped early. Malik Rozier was certainly not expecting the ball, wasn't even looking that way. He was in his cadence looking to the right, and he got hit in the sternum with it.
Let me ask you this. In the college football playoff rankings outline, common opponents are important, but you don't incentivize margin of victory. That said, the eye test is part of this process. It just has to be. Every human is biased in some way by what they see. This doesn't help the Hurricanes.
It doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't. And this is the last impression before the first rankings are out on Tuesday. But there's a lot of impressions to be made as time goes on if you continue to win.
Rozier on third down. Fox is coming hard, and it's incomplete. Cole Holcomb on the coverage, but Tamon Fox, the redshirt freshman, was breathing down the neck of Rozier, and now Carolina's got 59 seconds.
59 seconds, and Carolina still has their 2 timeouts. This is a different situation as John Papuchis draws up pressure, gets to Malik Rozier, but it was really good coverage on the other end of that pass. Thrown under duress, but the coverage was terrific on the other end. Get a little punt return here, and then you might start thinking about trying to get something done.
Fiegels to Stewart. And it's a fair catch for MJ Stewart. Kick off your Week 8 with Sunday NFL Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Sam Ponder and the guys give you an all-access look at Carson Wentz. How about the way he's played? Some great footwork in the pocket on Monday Night Football. Also, another edition of You Got Mossed. Countdown also streaming live on the ESPN app.
Carson Wentz was that guy at North Dakota State. I mean, he had great footwork for a big guy, and he's carried it over well into the NFL.
You going at this if you're Carolina?
The first play dictates everything. If I like the feel of the first play, then I try to get something done. 52 seconds and 2 timeouts, but you don't want to do anything silly.
They do throw. It's to Brown on the swing pass, and Jordan Brown is out of bounds. Although they say his progress was stopped inbounds, so the clock is running. Johnson knocked him out, and that may make the decision for North Carolina. We'll see. Blitz coming. Brown picks it up, and there goes Elliott to the 41. So now 2 timeouts remaining. Clock will stop on the first down. North Carolina will try to get in field goal position as a timeout gets called.
And Jason, you continue to do what you just did. A throw to the sideline. Brown, I thought, got out of bounds. The clock continued to run. And then a very safe designed quarterback run, a draw in this case, where he had 2 personal protectors. More of the same to try to pick up a few more yards.
You don't see that called very often, but we just did, where the forward progress was stopped inbounds, and though the player got out of bounds, the clock was running.
And based on what Chris told us earlier, Freeman Jones, we wonder what his condition is, therefore kind of the distance that they're going to feel comfortable with their field goal kicker. I think you have to at least get this down to probably somewhere around the 30-yard line to feel good about it.
Well, Freeman Jones alone on the sideline right now. And we'll see if he's pressed into action. 1 timeout left for North Carolina, which led for the balance of this half. Elliott, incomplete.
One other note, guys, to keep in mind about Jones is that the wind has picked up down here, and he would be kicking against the wind where they're at.
That's not good news for Jones.
No, and that's the end that I said in pregame, was coming up short a little bit. So if that wind is increased, they're going to have to get him down there about 25 more yards at least.
20 seconds and a timeout for North Carolina, as Miami just took the lead a couple of minutes ago on the Christopher Herndon 51-yard touchdown. Elliott fading back, and a nice high point catch by Roscoe Johnson into plus territory, and a flag comes in late.
I think Roscoe Johnson is getting it unsportsmanlike after that play, kind of rolling the ball on the Miami defender that was laying on the ground. That's going to be a knuckle-headed play, I think, by Johnson, called late.
Result of the play is a first down. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct on the offense, number 85, 15-yard penalty. It will be 1st and 10 from that spot.
Well, Jay, you talk about potentially taking points off the board, or at least a potential to get a late 3 here before the half. That was a bad decision by Roscoe Johnson.
I'm also going to say this, though. Is that really a penalty?
He looked at the guy and rolled the dice. In this case, the ball right on the defender or close to him. They completely try to eliminate taunting in this game, and I think that was a good look at taunting, in my opinion.
That'll do it. The penalty certainly burns North Carolina. Bad choice by Johnson. Miami will get it after halftime, but Surratt and Rozier have been under great duress. Backups both came in. Carolina's is still there. Dave and Buster's halftime report. Chris Cotter after the break.
25 Ranking Show, Tuesday at 7 on ESPN, presented by Allstate.
Welcome back to the ACC on ESPN. The sun is shining at Chapel Hill for the home team. 7-6, Miami with the lead. But the undefeated Hurricanes have not looked completely put together so far today. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer, and look, you can want a complete game as much as possible if you're Mark Richt.
Yeah.
You got to win first.
Yeah, that wasn't it. And you think it should be 9-7, right?
I
do. Still disagree with that? The things that had to happen for North Carolina happened in this first half. It's going to have to double up here in the second half.
You done? Can I do the Cabela's game track now? You done throwing me under the bus?
Yeah.
All right, Cabela's game track shows North Carolina with a 248 to 167 number in total yards. How about that?
Really, everything that North Carolina would have wanted to happen happened in that first half, and go all the way down to the bottom. Time of possession. There's a lot of good things mixed in that. Great defense, an offense that's actually playing a little bit better overall, getting something out of the run game. All of those things worked well in the first half. But now, Jason, it's the second half, right?
It is.
All right.
To your point, though, about that field goal, I don't think Larry Fedora necessarily expected to be in a one-score game where 3 might matter as much. So
that's a good point.
It's become a different game than we expected. Jeff Thomas on the return, belted down at the 23. Downstairs, Chris Button talked to Larry Fedora.
Yeah, overall, mostly pleased with the way his team's playing. He said we got 30 more minutes. If we played better football than we played this first half, executing drives better. I asked him about Chaz Surratt. He says he's okay. He just likes the way that Nathan Elliott is playing better.
We like the way Nathan Elliott is playing probably better as well. I agree with Coach Fedora. Not that our decision really mattered that much in him still playing in the second half.
But you have to credit the kid for coming in and having that poise. I mean, he looked the part in the first half.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There was a lot of poise, calmness, under pressure, and he's going to be under pressure in this second half as well.
Travis Homer had not a whole lot doing on the run in the first half. They're going to throw, and the speed burner Thomas is absolutely gone. 78 yards for Miami out of halftime. He burned KJ Sales.
That was the matchup that John Papuchis was worried about. Out on the edges when they're doubling both Berrios and also Richards. And that time, KJ Sales just ended up in the wake of the receiver. Thomas got vertical in a hurry, and more importantly, Rozier found him, dropped it right in his shirt pocket. That, my friends, didn't take long.
One step toward the sideline, a step back in, and Thomas, who might have the best speed of all the Miami receivers, goes blazing down the field for the gash play for the Miami Hurricanes, and his quarterback is absolutely over the moon. Miami breaks it open on the first play. Last play of the season for the U, and the Hurricane faithful are here in droves in Chapel Hill. Carolina will get it, but Miami is 78-yard touchdown strike to Jeff Thomas, who had his first career touchdown last week against Syracuse. And now showing off the wings on his feet that we heard about from the coaching staff. An Under Armour All-American last year, and boy, that's a dangerous kid.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it took Miami that long, the first play of the second half, to really get to that matchup a whole lot. You know, we talked about John Papuchis talking about the brackets, both on Richards and Berrios, and he was worried about the matchup outside at times. And KJ Sales was going to have to be right in the middle of that, and Jeff Thomas got off early in this second half.
It is the redshirt sophomore from Salina, Texas, staying in. Elliott has the ball tipped away. It's Shaq Quarterman, the very talented sophomore linebacker. Fritz, the intended target, second down.
Yeah, and the last thing you want here is a turnover, and you wonder, I loved what we saw out of Nathan Elliott, but if this doesn't start well.
And that's Jaquan Johnson down for Miami, the safety, so they're going to blow it dead.
Does Fedora go back to Surratt here in the second half? That'll be the question. I think Nathan Elliott has earned the right in that first half to come back and start the second half and see how it goes.
Well, Chaz Surratt's going to go be a part of the huddle, at least for now.
He doesn't look like a quarterback that's doing anything more than participating in a huddle, though. So I think Nathan Elliott is going to get an opportunity to see if he can work that same moxie that he had in the first half. You know, there was a little bit of something about him, and that's what Larry Fedora told Chris, is I like the way he played. So there wasn't really any reason to make the change at halftime, but that's a different story in the second half if things go south with this Tar Heel offense.
With Johnson out, Miami gets thinned out even more in that secondary. That's a place they cannot afford to lose guys. And that's going nowhere for Elliott. It's a loss of a half yard. R.J. McIntosh with his 11th tackle of the game.
And McIntosh is one of 7 guys up front that it's kind of incessant pressure out of Manny Diaz's defense. The defensive line of scrimmage, linebacking group, and they get after the ball carrier, whether it's the quarterback or the running back carrying the football.
Third and 10 officially.
You don't want to unloose the turnover chain right here.
Carolina trying to keep it in its box over on the sideline. Uh-oh. 2-man sack, including Demetrius Jackson. It's a loss of 7 in punt time for North Carolina. Not exactly the A1 start they were hoping for.
The pressure is nothing new for Miami defensively, and there was a little bit of protection early, nothing open down the field, and you tell me where he's going with this football. Late there was a receiver coming off and going up the sideline, but there was a whole lot of Canes covering right there on that play. In the end, Jason, not a bad decision to take the sack and just punt it. The next best thing you wanted out of Elliott is throw the ball away.
Third sack for Miami. Fair catch for Berrios. Miami wasn't thrilled with the first half and came out shooting in the second half.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Call of Duty World War II. Reassemble your squad on November 3rd. Rated M for mature.
Forest Theater, 300-year anniversary of the death of Shakespeare. It was established, and fair was foul, and foul was fair in the first half for Miami's offense. Not a whole lot except for the 3 plays.
How about those for explosive? Yeah, outside of those 3 plays, Miami's offense in the first half was non-existent, and then this first play of the second half was off the chart.
They run on first down with Homer, and he's hit by Collins.
Guys, the offensive line for Miami has been ripped all day long from the coaching staff until that last series when Mark Richt came over, kind of gave him an attaboy, good job. Malik came over as well. Thanks him for the protection. So finally getting a little praise. It's been a long day for the O-line.
Well, they've had some numbers issues with Donaldson and the ankle injury. As Stewart makes the tackle, third down. Here's the pocket of the touchdown.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Chris was referring to on that long touchdown. Malik Rozier has a clean pocket. I mean, prototypical pocket. He gets to slide up. They call it climbing in the pocket, throw his vertical, drop it into the shirt pocket of Jeff Thomas. And that protection was kind of intermittent at best in the first half.
This may be a must-have third down stop for Carolina's defense.
That's a great point. Early in the second half, the way the momentum has shifted.
Collins coming from the linebacker spot. Rozier for Richards. He couldn't hang on. M.J. Stewart was hip to hip with him, and it's fourth down.
M.J. Stewart has been hip to hip with Amon Richards the entire day. I believe that's only the second time this receiver has been targeted. Clean pocket once again. Papuchis was actually bringing pressure, and then it's a tight throw, and the pocket once again is clean. But on the other end, Richards just isn't getting out of the shadow of MJ Stewart.
Had Renee on him briefly. Stewart has done the job for the most part, and a flag comes in, and that's going to go against Miami.
Snap infraction on the offense, number 39. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
So Jason, the way that coverage works for North Carolina is sometimes you have a bracket to begin with, and then when the route is declared and it's not a vertical, it ends up really being man-to-man. MJ Stewart in that case on Amon Richards doesn't have help inside, but it was still really good coverage.
High kick, short kick from Fiegels, whose father Jeff, longtime punter in the NFL for 22 years. Tonight, 8 Eastern, ABC or ESPN2. Check your local listings. Georgia Tech at number 7, Clemson in the ACC. Texas Tech at number 10, Oklahoma. You can watch them both, by the way. Don't even need to check your local listings by using the ESPN app. The Tar Heels have bogged down some offensively recently. That's 10 plays for 10 yards, if you do the math, as we have for you. Nathan Elliott stays in at quarterback. It's been predominantly option or throw, and here he decides not to pitch it, and that might have been the best choice as Jackson dragged him down, but it could have been worse.
Yeah, it's a speed option, and so the theory is Nathan Elliott is going to attack the end man on the line of scrimmage, and Jordan Brown is the pitch guy, but that defensive line for Miami runs as good as any defensive line in the entire country, and they just absolutely extended the line of scrimmage out wide.
Most of the backups are ESPN 300 ranked players out of high school, as that's incomplete. So 3rd down coming up. Jackson on Millette there, but when we talk about the ESPN 300, those are blue chip recruits, and quite a few of the backups for Miami, second teamers or even third teamers, are ESPN 300 guys.
And Mark Rick and Manny Diaz told us that they're in the process of building competitive depth, meaning competition for your position every day in practice.
Blitz coming. Elliott leaning and too high, looking for Millette. And the Miami defense is earning its keep, certainly now.
And the pressure has been turned up by Manny Diaz. A sense of urgency out of this defense that you didn't see all the time in the first half. Millette had a chance. There were extra guys coming on Elliott, his quarterback, and that's why the throw was errant on the other end. What you don't see in that is Millette was just coming out of his break on the sideline. There was an opportunity to throw a ball in the window, but there was a little bit of pressure on Nathan Elliott there.
You think we see Chad Surratt next drive?
I wouldn't doubt it.
That one's blocked. Lent had it blocked by Miami, and Jonathan Garvin. He may have a new piece of jewelry.
And I don't even think this was a designed block. I think it's just a really good athlete in the freshman Garvin getting into that wedge, getting up in the air at 6'4", and volleyballing that one back to the ground. That was just really good effort individually.
So look, it's semantics. That's not necessarily a turnover officially, but the chain.
Where's the chain? Does the chain come out, you think?
I think it's questionable. We may have to go to an arbitrator.
I think the chain comes out on that one.
Carolina's defense playing on a short field again. Rozier to the edge, incomplete. Richards is frustrated. 2nd down, but more than a quarter of the points allowed by Carolina coming in this year have been on quick changes, on short fields, on bad situations.
And that has to nationally be a huge number. A quarter of the points given up, but that also means that defense has been put in a bad position a lot, but have played really good defense in these type of situations all year long.
Can they do it again? Rozier on second down decides to slide late. He got hit by Woolfolk, but he had already declared, Woolfolk had.
Yeah, and Woolfolk, I think, did a great job of changing the target zone and sliding over top of the sliding quarterback.
What's your call on third down?
We have to find Amon Richards at some point in time. What you have to do if someone's locking down your best receiver, as MJ Stewart is, put him in the slot as he is right now in the trips and put him on the move and free him up in his release off the line of scrimmage.
Closest to the line, Richards. They throw away from it. It's behind Homer. He sheds Woolfolk, and now we'll see where the spot is. Collins finally took him down, and it's going to be fourth down for Miami.
I think Mark Richt might seize the moment here. I think a little better pass allows Homer. That upfield shoulder is that fine focus point right there, and he needed to get up the field. The ball placement did not allow Homer to do that.
Rozier looks a little gingerly walking there, so timeout Miami. You're really going to go for this on 4th and 1 and not go up 2 scores?
I believe that Mark Richt is thinking that for sure. I think that right now it's about momentum. And again, we're 4th and makeable. And I think Mark Richt kind of wants to put the pedal to the metal. They came out throwing a vertical on the first play of this second half and hit it. I think they want to continue with that momentum.
I think he's made a different choice during this timeout.
You know what's interesting about that is you're saying that Homer may have been the difference. Him not being able to stay on the field potentially as he came off walking a little bit gingerly may have decided that, because initially the offense was being waved to stay on and Homer started to limp off, and I think it may have changed the head coach's opinion.
21 yards for Badgley, who has been terribly reliable for Miami, and he continues to be. So 17-6 off the block punt. Carolina only allows the field goal. Coach and quarterback talk it over for the Hurricanes, still unbeaten and trying to put away pesky North Carolina. Three times today, Miami has had a 60-yard field or shorter and has only put 3 points up on those 3 drives. So the Hurricanes lead by 11, but it could be more as Carolina hangs around. And this kick settles in the arms of Ratliff Williams at the 5. His return is a beauty, dancing across the 40. Ratliff Williams giving Carolina great field position as we check in with Chris Cotter.
All right, Arkansas and Ole Miss has been just a shootout, and it continues. Cole Kelly's going to find Cheyenne O'Grady here on the tight end screen. He takes it to the house, 31-28 right now. Ole Miss with a 3-point lead on the SEC Network, and there is no stopping Oklahoma State. J.D. King scores again for the Pokes, 30-10 over on ABC.
Well, Mike Gundy can score some points here. Guns up for the Cowpokes. They didn't do it last week, but they snuck out.
If you were going to get to that.
They normally score points.
Texas. Texas is playing good defense, however.
Brown the run, and no gain, second down.
Well, Nathan Elliott still in there. Chaz Surratt is not, and you wonder if a change is coming if on this drive North Carolina doesn't do something offensively.
This has been a very unintentional quarterback carousel for Larry Fedora as Millett comes back for this one. It's third down. I mean, the idea was, as a flag comes in, the idea was Brandon Harris would be the starter. Surratt would be kind of the gadget package sort of quarterback. That didn't happen.
Eligible receiver downfield on the offense, number 80. 5-yard penalty, second down.
So with that penalty, they lose the game by Millett. But Harris was so ineffective interception-wise, 1 touchdown, 8 picks, that Surratt became the de facto starter. And now he gets injured in this game, and Elliott takes over. He comes out guns a-blazing, and now is kind of settled into what we've seen from Carolina offensively the past couple of weeks. Screen for Brown, breaking a tackle. Brown across the 40-yard line, and a first down for North Carolina. Johnson and Redwine, the safeties, with the stop, and an injured Hurricane player as well.
And well executed. And North Carolina has been close on a couple of screens, and that offensive line got out intact. Cam Dillard had a great block out on the end to spring Jordan Brown. Close a couple of times, but screens are kind of hit or miss. Look at all of the green grass that he has to go there. The offensive line creates enough space. Jordan Brown is able to get through it this time. Screens are basically all or nothing. They're the worst looking plays ever, and then all of a sudden you get one like that.
Michael Pinckney down for the Hurricanes. Quarterman went over to chat with him and make sure he was okay. Pinckney, who was the linebacker of the week this week in the ACC, was injured in the Georgia Tech game. And now he comes off as well. So three sophomores, McLeod, Quarterman, and Pinckney, who got good playing time as freshmen, have really settled in and done a great job for the Hurricanes this year.
Yeah, Manny Diaz told us that last year with those three freshmen playing, they were just trying to survive. Now they're all working kind of individually on their trade, and Pinckney's more of the, he has the kind of the knack for the spectacular, but he's learning how to make the standard plays more consistently this season.
Sophomore out of Jacksonville, so he comes out, and they add a defensive back. Pitch to Brown with some room. Got a block from Vargas, and inside the red zone for North Carolina. Redwine chopped him down. First down on a gain of 12.
That was the speed option that we saw earlier that didn't work very well, where the quarterback, Elliott, is just going to go right to the in-man on the line of scrimmage. Option off of that in-man as he attacks the quarterback and make a successful pitch, in this case to Jordan Brown. Well executed by North Carolina.
Charles Perry has come in to play that linebacker spot vacated by Pinckney. Ratliff Williams in motion. That's a backwards pass. He throws. Touchdown! Bo Corrales. Gadgetry from the Tar Heels. You going for two?
It appears some kind of swinging gate type of thing on the two or not, and what a great call. Bo Corrales just stalks the receiver on the potential run and then gets down the field, and then Ratliff 2 for 2 on those type of plays today.
They will line up to kick, and Freeman Jones. The crowd's back in it in Chapel Hill. How about this play call by the Tar Heels?
And the Tar Heels certainly have to be creative offensively. And the gadget, you're going to get the handoff to Ratliff Williams. And then down at the bottom, Bo Corrales initially was going to be a blocker, and then he slips by the defender. The safety has no shot getting over there. Slightly underthrown. Malik Young was on the coverage initially. Very well executed. The backward pass, the forward pass from Ratliff to Williams, and then Bo Corrales did have to go finish on the ball because it was underthrown to some extent.
That's the value you get out of one of your wide receivers being initially recruited as a quarterback. Ratliff Williams was that guy.
Yeah, and he's actually thrown the ball well and has a little feel about it. That time it was slightly underthrown, but he got it out quickly that made up for that underthrow to some extent. But Bo Corrales had to go make a play on what essentially became a 50-50 underthrown ball, and man alive, did Carolina need that one.
Miami fans are sick of these white-knuckle games as Thomas takes it out of the end zone, and Thomas gets steamrolled at the 6-yard line. J.K. Britt blasted him.
Well, momentum really carries energy with it, and it's somewhat invisible, but you can define it in ways like this. I think a bad decision to bring that out, but the energy in special teams that has transferred from offense through the defense, and now we see it on special teams for North Carolina.
Well, this game looked like it was on the verge of going into the over category, meaning done with.
Larry Fedora told us you're in charge of your attitude and emotions, and they're playing with emotion right now is his North Carolina Tar Heel team.
Doubling the Hurricanes in first downs. A non-existent run game for most of the day for the Hurricanes. Goes to the air again, and Richards in front of Stewart for a first down. Chris Budden.
Yeah, watching Malik Rozier during that last series, he spent the entire time on the bike. He didn't receive any treatment, but he was definitely massaging out that left thigh.
He's had a shoulder issue, now the thigh issue. He missed a series. Sheriffs came in the first half, and they're going to try and bulldoze up the middle with Homer. Collins the tackle. A strong run for a Homer to the 25. He gets 6.
And with that offensive line for Miami giving Rozier a little better protection in the second half, you would think that Miami's intention is to get to their perimeter with their speed guys outside, and particularly those back shoulder throws and 50-50 balls out wide.
Rozier, quick set, throwing sideline, overthrown.
That's
Deontay Mullins was bracketed by Renee.
Yeah, excuse me, Jason. That's just a poorly thrown ball. It's driven too much. That ball has to have some air under it. It's called a fade route for a reason. Get some air, fade Mullins to the sideline. That was driven, and Mullins had no shot to make a play on that football.
Rozier 5 out of 9 on third down. Miami has struggled overall, though, converting third downs today. Collins showing blitz. He's on his way. He trips and incomplete. Rozier with a line drive for Thomas. And the punt team summoned for the Hurricanes. Malik Rozier gets a what for from Mark Richt. And the one thing that Mark Richt likes from his quarterback is that he can come to the sideline and say what he saw, and he's normally right.
Yeah, he's normally accurate, and trust me, you can't trust all quarterbacks to give you quality intel after the play, but I believe that Mark Richt does trust his quarterback, but that was just a bad throw. Put the ball on the receiver and you have a play.
Were you a trustworthy quarterback?
I was.
That's what they all say. Carolina ball after this, trailing by 4. Later today, number 4 TCU on the road in Ames for number 25 Iowa State. Horned Frogs have won 4 in a row in the series, 7-1 all time. Gary Patterson, long tenured coach for TCU. Matt Campbell, kind of the new guy in town in the Big 12. 3:30 Eastern, ABC or ESPN2, also on the ESPN app. The turnover chain has been mothballed today for the Hurricanes, in large part because of this guy, Nathan Elliott, the third-string quarterback. Chris Budden.
So the turnover chain comes in this little tiny briefcase, and it's tucked away in the equipment storage bin until it comes out, but it's not come out at this point. Last week it had been multiple times. There are some other chains, though, around here.
Where did she get
you
that?
Go look at all the fans. They have all their own for Halloween, so I thought I wanted to be part of this. I got my own. It's an add-on chain, not a turnover chain. Add-on chain.
Turn your back for a minute and look what happens to her.
Bling Budden.
Yeah.
How about that? What a beautiful look there, huh?
All in the spirit of Halloween.
A little gaudy.
Don't blame that on Halloween.
Brown on the run, and he is thrown back. I think you should keep that on, or at least, maybe add some jewelry later in the game.
Can't you at least, say the artwork's good?
It's
Look
beautiful.
at that. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure it's as expensive as the actual turnover chain. The amount of fans, though, that have come out in their own are phenomenal. I've spotted at least 50 of them here in the stadium today.
What is she going to add on? Chris, what are you adding on to that thing if you get a chance?
Surprise.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
It's called a tease.
A tease in the industry.
Keep her away from the real one. I don't know what would happen.
Second down at 11 for North Carolina, and Elliott, he whips it over the middle. He's got his tight end, and Jake Vargas is dumped after a gain of 13. First down, North Carolina.
Great job of ball handling by Nathan Elliott. The run pass option, zone run inside, throw it to the big tight end behind that second level defender.
McIntosh finishes off Brown, but on that turnover chain, if you haven't seen it, the A.J. Machado creation that Manny Diaz commissioned with the help of Mike Rump, and you see fans enjoying their own turnover chains. It's growing in the South.
Wow.
High schools have done it as well.
You can pull out some logs with those chains right there. Those were kind of gaudy.
Those came off of snow tires, I think, somewhere in the north. Elliott, jump ball, and the chain's coming out. Michael Jackson picks it off. Here it comes. The coronation.
He's got to get his helmet off.
It's a very workmanlike reaction to the turnover chain by Michael Jackson with pick number 4 of his season after 2 last week against Syracuse.
And so many times the incessant pressure out of Manny Diaz's defense ends in stuff like this. Long time coming here today. We haven't seen the bling until late third quarter.
Wonder if Chris just turned it over on the sideline after her jewelry as well.
You better get security down there.
Homer on the run, just the 5th rushing play called in the second half for the Hurricanes.
Guys, one of the things that I asked Manny Diaz, what do you do with it during the week? I mean, does it have a handler during the week? He said, we keep that top secret. We don't want anyone to know where it is. We don't want it stolen. Let's pretend we fly it to Switzerland and back during the week.
He said white gloves, right? Somebody with white gloves carrying the thing out. It's very well protected. Like Rozier down the sideline. Berrios with a dive at midfield. A beautiful grab.
With that really good protection in the second half, we're seeing more of this. Berrios goes vertical and gets over the top of Miles Woolfolk. And you see right there the finish on the ball, slightly overthrown, but well done on the finish by Berrios.
Hurricanes trying to finally capitalize on a turnover. The chain's been out a lot this year, but the points have not followed as Langham was pinned to the sideline by Stewart. Second down. I do think I offended Manny Diaz a little bit when I was talking about the turnover chain with him this week. I said it kind of looks like the Marlins Park home run statue. And he said, no, that's gaudy. This is awesome.
Yeah, you did offend him, and it almost ended our call, and we were not getting all the information. But look at that right there. And this is the reason that Mark Richt feels that there's a lot more for them to do as a team. A defense that's getting the turnover and breaking out the turnover chain, and an offense that isn't fully taking advantage of those takeaways.
To the outside it goes, and Rozier finally dumped out of bounds, and maybe a flag coming. We'll see. Cole Holcomb whipped him to the sideline, and no sign of a flag after 18 yards.
So, Jason, if Mark Richt gets what he wants from his team, they put both sides together, and there was a little extracurricular afterwards, but the finish there was more about Rozier being a little bit of off balance. I'm glad there wasn't a flag thrown on that, but it's about a complete dominating game, and it's turnovers turning into points. We'll see if Miami can get it done here.
Corner blitz came, and they got there. It was Carney, not the corner, but the defensive line makes it go. A loss of 5.
Well, the corner blitz you referred to occupied a blocker, and Carney was able to shake loose up inside. The running back steps up outside. There's no help for the leakage inside, and Carney gets home to Rozier.
Malik Carney, who had his first sack ever in the opener against Cal, builds on his team lead for the season. Number 8 undefeated Miami on its heels. More pressure and another sack. Clark busted down the door. Holcomb collaborated. 3rd and forever.
Miami has made an adjustment offensively and going to a little bit more empty. And John Papuchis, the defensive coordinator for North Carolina, said, you know what we do when you go empty? We fire up the boys and get after you, and that's exactly what he's doing on this drive.
He's a guy who learned from Nick Saban and Bo Pelini and any number of others on an LSU staff where he was the quality control coach, Papuchis, and his defense has played with some teeth this year.
Yeah, all year, and they're doing it right here on this drive, getting after Rozier the last 2 attempted passes.
Rozier to Herndon, who had the touchdown in the first half, and now Miami from the 37 could actually contemplate going for this.
I was going to say that it's that tweener area where you don't gain much by punting it, but your field goal kicker can't reach it unless he has a bazooka for a leg, and Rozier is staying on. Look for the outside matchups once again. Good pass protection inside translates into at least the opportunity to get to my weapons on the perimeter.
Richards topside, one-on-one for now. 4th and 13. Rozier tipped and incomplete. They'll gain nothing on 4th down as Dalton smacked it to the Chapel Hill turf. They lost 12 yards on 2 sacks and said bye-bye to field goal range.
And Jalen Dalton ends up batting one down, and it's about affecting the passer. You see Dalton looping from the inside to the outside, getting in the throwing lane, and Rozier couldn't steer it around him. So many ways to affect the passer, and Jalen Dalton on that play just got up in the throwing lane.
Don't look now, but with about 16 minutes left in this game, North Carolina is a definite threat to upend Miami, but that's not going to help. Charles Perry goes to the jeweler. Last 2 plays for North Carolina have brought out the chain.
And Elliott was under duress, and Brandon Fitz didn't cross the defender's face, and instead it's a turnover by Perry. Good job finishing on the ball. Perry's going to be in tight coverage on the tight end, Brandon Fitz in the slot position. And there was pressure in Elliott's face. The ball ends up in front of the intended receiver, Fritz, to some extent. And Charles Perry gets the chain.
Another short field, and Rozier spikes this. Michael Irvin was in the area, so 2nd down. And that is the sound of the men working on the chain.
Well, it's good to see that Chris hasn't actually taken that one away from anybody.
I don't think anybody's going to take this away from Manny Diaz's opportunistic defense this year.
No turnovers, no takeaways in the first half by that defense, and all of a sudden it seems like the chain has come out and they're getting them in bunches currently.
See if the defense can hold the line again. Rozier decides to run and gets collapsed on. Tamon Fox and Jason Strobridge. So 3rd down. We just showed you points off turnovers has been a lumbering affair for this offense this season.
And it's a defense in North Carolina that has been put in harm's way more than you can imagine, but held up extremely well as they have today. On the last turnover, 0 points for Miami, and this one is not looking great. Empty set once again. The last time John Papuchis said to heck with it, we're bringing the house.
Rozier does take the snap. He's under pressure, and it's incomplete. Tipped by Holcomb. Fox the pressure to go along with the turnover chain. Miami might want to have a 1-possession game magnet. They've had 3 straight. We're leaning on another one in Chapel Hill. A tight one for undefeated Miami, 17-13. And it's punt time for the Hurricanes with 15 minutes left on the clock in Chapel Hill. 1-7 North Carolina has Miami at the edge of the unbeaten cliff. Low snap to Fiegels. And a high kick. Stewart got bumped into by his own player who was thrown into him. And Carolina has it at the 15. Let's take a look at our Wells Fargo Innovations of Better updated Jordan brand jerseys. Cut sole lines and breathability zones. A new jersey for North Carolina. No mesh inserts at the sides. And for more on that, here's Chris Button.
Oh, well, the players love these new jerseys because they're so lightweight that the wicking in it, when you're sweating in it, it dries up so quickly. Also, the navy blue, first time that they've worn them with this new innovative jersey. Kelly, they were lightweight back then, right?
I don't know how much jerseys are supposed to weigh, but they don't weigh as much as that bling around her neck. What is happening to her?
That's a second piece of jewelry. I think we can officially nicely call her the Ice Queen now. Brown on the run. Second down coming up. You okay down there, Button?
There were 2 turnovers, so you had a chain every time, right? So
I don't think that's a way.
I got a whole bag of them. Oh, there's more coming.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
We're going to have sideline chains now, evidently.
It's not getting through
every time I do an add-on, I get a new chain. Isn't that the thought? AJ Machado actually made this one.
It's her thought.
No.
I don't think he did. Here's a run for Elliott, and he meanders up to the 24-yard line. 3rd down and 1. Miami gets 2 picks and doesn't do anything with it, even after all the celebration.
And that's really been the story this entire year. Not a lot of points off of turnovers. T-shirts, Halloween costumes. It's gone viral in a lot of ways, that turnover chain.
Straight up the middle. 1st down for North Carolina and Nathan Elliott, who again is in his first extended playing time in a key situation ever. Redshirt sophomore out of Salina, Texas.
And I think rightly so, Jason. We've talked about the turnover chain the last 2 possessions. North Carolina has coughed it up. Keep it on the ground a little bit, and successful so far.
Flip it out of the backfield. Jordan Brown to the sideline and out of bounds at the 38 as we check in with Chris Cotter. Chris?
I think Jacob the Jeweler must have paid Chris Button a visit this week. She's wearing all kinds of bling. Well, the new gold standard in Winston-Salem is Greg Dortch. This is his school record 4th touchdown of the day. Wake Forest with a 35-17 lead over Louisville.
That is a silver medal update at the very least from Chris Cotter. 1st down for the Tar Heels. Elliott doubles back, sees some space, and Elliott decides to run, carving upfield just short of midfield. This kid has had a whale of a day.
Tremendous decision. When a pass is called and a quarterback runs it, typically it amounts to a good decision. The pirouette, he gets out to green grass to his left side, and what a heady play by a youngster that hasn't had a lot of experience on the field.
Played in high school for his father, Bill. He was 0 for 3 for the season when he woke up this morning. 2 receivers in the area and neither caught it. Ratliff Williams and Roscoe Johnson. And it's 3rd down and 1.
Ratliff Williams and Johnson are arguing about who was not supposed to be there, but Nathan Elliott, the numbers aren't going to blow you away. And the last 2 possessions obviously didn't end well, but the headiness, there's something about what he's doing right now that works for Larry Fedora. That's why he's still in the game, and Chaz Farrat is not.
You like the shotgun here, 3rd and 1?
Not really. I really have a problem with moving your quarterback 5 yards away from the line to gain.
Newsome in motion. This is Daz Newsome on the run. He has the 1st down inside the 45.
Jason, that was one of the things that North Carolina told us they were going to use more of. Moving Daz Newsome in particular, fly sweep, sometimes a decoy, sometimes getting it on a nifty run like that.
Motion again, pitch it out. That may be a backward pass, and it in fact is called incomplete. Now again, we just got some updated information from the officials on backward passes. At this point, because of instant replay, the idea is to let it be called a backward pass and let replay change it. So the bias has changed from previous years when they said, when in question, it is a forward pass.
And that's exactly how the line judge called it. He called it an incomplete pass immediately. And I think that was well done on the field.
Reverse again. Ratliff Williams threw a touchdown earlier, and he airmails Elliott, who got drilled as a receiver. Carter got the hit on him.
Nathan Elliott was open initially, and Ratliff Williams tried to actually throw this in there with a little zip on it. I think that's a late hit. I think the fans are exactly right here. There were 2 steps taken by the defender, Amari Carter. That easily could have been called late.
I agree with you. That's a flag.
Yeah, that definitely should have been thrown.
10th play of the drive. Elliott just took a lick. He's in the pocket now, fading out of it. Elliott is a little bit short with it and incomplete. Ratliff Williams the target. 4th down, North Carolina. What's your call, Kelly?
Against this defense, first of all, is this going to be a catch, no catch? Ratliff Williams goes down and gets it, and that clearly hits the ground first. But field position, the way your defense is playing currently, I think you play for field position and get this ball back in better shape. The thing I don't want here is for my punter to punt this football in the end zone.
Lent is the reserve punter. He sends it soaring into the Chapel Hill sky. And Berrios at the 15. Tight one for the Hurricanes once again.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Rent-A-Center. Big brands, small payments, all without credit.
Hurricanes trying to wriggle off the hook yet again. They lead by 4 from the 15-yard line in their own territory after a Lent punt that pushed him back to the 15. Rozier just 13 of 32 with that incompletion today. Monday Night Football on ESPN in the AFC West, the Broncos and the Chiefs. Jamal Charles with his return. Monday Night Countdown starts it at 6 Eastern. Game also available on ESPN2 in Spanish.
And Malik Rozier just has not looked comfortable the entire afternoon, and a lot of it has to do with John Papuch's North Carolina defense just not allowing the quarterback to get on track.
Big hit, shaken off, and a first down for a homer and the Hurricanes to the 30-yard line.
And Jason, that's one of the reasons why North Carolina had been successful, is making Miami kind of one-handed. The run game in any explosive way has been kind of non-existent, and it's been a good job of then rallying to the quarterback to defend him.
That one sails over Herndon. Second down. You surprised we haven't seen more of Homer, the running back?
Yeah, and I am. It seems like Miami went away from the run a little bit early, but sometimes as play callers, Mark Richt in particular, it says, how long do you want to beat your head against the wall? And you can see right there, Homer the first 6 games, and then today it's just really hasn't gotten a whole lot done, and it's a lot to do with the pressure North Carolina does on the defensive line of scrimmage.
Linebackers coming. Thought he might look to Herndon. Instead, it's a jump ball, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Woolfolk, but they're going to get Renee on interference, we think. That was needless contact. The ball was underthrown, Kelly.
And Renee did not see that matched up on Amon Richards outside, and it looked to me like he basically drugged the receiver Richards down, and his colleague was in the process of catching a pop fly behind that.
Was it catchable is the question, though. Can you say this was so far underthrown it was not catchable by the wide receiver?
It's going to be hard because Amon Richards.
Defense, number 5, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Wow, that is a tough call. Amon Richards was planting his foot, seeing the ball, trying to get back to it. And Renee just ran through him, but Renee was also looking back at the ball, just hadn't planted his foot to get back there. I think that call was iffy at best and woefully underthrown. What do you think about that?
I think 2 flags were coming. One official threw the flag, and then the far side official had it in his hand too and saw the other one out there and declined it. Question, was it tipped at the line? Carolina is saying this ball was touched.
Wow.
I think you can make the argument it was.
Jalen Dalton was the defensive lineman getting his hand up, and it may have very well been tipped.
Interference stands. Rozier over the middle has a completion. DJ Dallas into the secondary and down at the 5. Holcomb tracked him down 49 yards for a guy Mark Richt said they had to get involved this week.
DJ Dallas brings a different level of speed to that running back position. You saw it on that little quick yards after the catch. Turn face up and then hit the afterburners.
Dallas breaks a tackle and not the second one. 2nd and goal. Alan Cater drove him down. Again, the Hurricanes are rapping on the door. Can they get in? Against a red zone defense that prides itself on field goals or nothing.
And a red zone offense in Miami that hasn't exactly been stellar down there at getting touchdowns themselves. 54% is not championship type red zone offense.
Richards is out. Langham is in at the bottom of the formation. Herndon, the tight end, in the slot left. Rozier to Barrios, touchdown.
By formation, you isolate Barrios on the red shirt freshman Miles Woolfolk, and that is a mismatch. The quickness in the slot, get across the defender's face. If your quarterback Rozier puts it on the receiver, it's a touchdown, and Rozier did right there to Barrios.
That was the spot that Papuchis was scared about, the slot and Barrios. It pays off there.
Well, Jason, North Carolina had things going. First of all, they thought they had an INT, but it's rather a pass interference, and DJ Dallas makes the explosive play, and Barrios is a finisher of drives, and he does on this one.
Tonight, 1:45 a.m. Eastern time after USC Arizona State on ESPN. Herbie's top 4. Game 4 of the World Series, a breakdown as well. Linda Cohn and Neil Everett have it for you. It's also streaming on the ESPN app.
And Chris got us a clarification on that, whether the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage or not. The officials told her it is reviewable, and they didn't feel it was tipped. It was reviewed quickly. Therefore, the pass interference stood. That's a great job by Chris getting that information for us.
That's a touchback, and we'll check in with Chris Cotter.
Crazy game on ABC. It was 30-10 Oklahoma State. They've had special teams problems all year, and it continues today. Block punt by Osman Kamara ends up as a touchdown for West Virginia. Very next possession, Mason Rudolph. Been so efficient all day, but this one is picked by Kenny Robinson, and he takes it to the house. Just like that, it's a 6-point game over on ABC.
That defense. I mean, that defense will eat you alive. They're very opportunistic for West Virginia. Elliott on the roll. And that is intercepted by Redwine. Another pick for the Miami defense. And Sheldrick Redwine, who got karate kicked by Eric Dungy last week from Syracuse, gets a new chain for his collection.
And Nathan Elliott has taken on water, and he get outside, and then he just throws an errant ball. But turnover chain, beware. There it is.
The scene could only be better if they had UB40 playing on the sideline with the coronation. He's got a little message for us. I think he wants to be in a calligraphy program at Miami. SC Top 10, I believe.
Where is Chris? We need to find Chris. She's got to have more bling on by now.
Timeout, Miami. This defense has helped the Hurricanes thrive this season in close games. Redwine goes to the jewelry cabinet, 24-13. Miami trying to do something off this turnover. Another short field, this one from the 15. Their fifth drive within 60 yards of the end zone. They've only gotten 3 points off of it. And the ball's on the deck, so second and long as we check in with Chris Button.
I can't handle another turnover. It's getting a little heavy around my neck here.
Yeah.
I asked them if they could hold on to the football from now on. No, but seriously though, the ESPN one, if becoming a sideline reporter for ESPN didn't make me popular, this thing did. I've been getting offers for it all day long. Taking pictures. I'm going to have to put it back in the briefcase.
Well, I'm told,
security.
I'm told, Chris, the manufacturing cost was $8.
Yes.
So you're going to get some overhead there.
Oh, good. I'll pay for dinner.
Nice. Homer on the run, and a flag comes in behind the play.
Have we ever had intervention for a sideline reporter wearing things around her neck just inexplicably?
I think she's going to put one on every time we toss it down to her. I think the turnover thing is a smokescreen. Let's check the flag.
Personal foul, illegal chop block against the offense, number 73 and number 23. 15-yard penalty, second down.
Darling, the left guard, Herndon, the tight end. And Miami continues to backslide here. So 5 drives at their own 40 or better. They have 3 3-and-outs, a field goal, and this thing that's moonwalking right now.
And as we've talked about, Jason, this certainly isn't what Mark Richt wanted. He wanted a complete game, even a dominating game if they could, putting both sides of the ball together. But this has been a snapshot essentially their whole season. The defense doing their thing, taking the ball away, setting the offense up that's been typically inept, particularly in the red zone and on third down. Here we go again.
Rozier steps up, snaps it off, intercepted, picked off by North Carolina. And J.K. Britt. They just can't put it away, Kel.
I think we've seen this movie before, even in Syracuse, with 4 takeaways by Miami's defense in the first quarter, and they couldn't put them away. Malik Rozier just simply did not see the safety, J.K. Britt. He locked onto his deep seam route and then proceeded to hit Britt right in the chest with the football. You have to start with your eyes right, knowing that you're going to throw left, and North Carolina's defense comes up big again.
Only 3 picks coming into this game all year for Rozier. Fly sweep and Newsome, and he steps out of a tackle just short of the 30. So Carolina's still in this game. Miami, one of 8 unbeatens to start the day, 5 on the road today.
L'Anthony Ratliff-Williams is going to have to throw another pass again. That's where the explosives have come from. Look for it again sooner than later.
And a flag. No sign of Chaz Surratt.
Offense, number 13, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Nothing from Chaz Surratt after the early injury. Elliott has taken over, but the picks have mounted. And now it's going to be second down and long for this redshirt sophomore quarterback.
In an offense that is troubled anyway at sustaining drives, but it's explosiveness that this offense has lacked ever since the injuries on that side have mounted. Remember, they came into this year losing over 90% of their production from a year ago, and then they were decimated by injuries on that side of the ball.
Elliott just absorbs the blow. Shaq Quarterman was there first and a loss of 5. Freshman All-American last year, Shaq Quarterman out of Orange Park in Florida.
3rd and 14 in a backed up situation with Nathan Elliott having taken on water recently. You might need to cue the turnover chain once again.
Manny Diaz, who always has his finger hovering on the blitz button. Rushes 4 this time. Elliott down the seam and incomplete. Newsome was covered well, and Carolina will punt. But look, down the road for Miami,
like
Notre Dame and Virginia Tech on the horizon. Can't be doing this, right?
No, I don't think you can. I think you're, as they say, playing with fire. Virginia Tech and Notre Dame that I think are capable of matching personnel-wise with Miami, and then competent enough on both sides of the ball to make you pay for not taking advantage of opportunities, particularly by Miami's offense today and this year, really.
Most of Rozier's passing yards have come on 5 plays as Berrios is driven back by Lent. That's a 76-yard punt for Hunter Lent. Often duplicated, never completely replicated. The turnover chain visiting 3 different persons on the Hurricane sideline, 24-13. Rozier and the Hurricanes trying to ward off a frustrating North Carolina team for Miami today. Carolina has hung around for 4 quarters here at Kenan Stadium. An undefeated Miami will go to the air, and Herndon with an incomplete pass. 2nd down as we take a look at today's performance spotlight, brought to you by Dickies. It's the slot man, Berrios.
Braxton Berrios is really becoming the dependable and maybe somewhat of a security blanket for Malik Rozier. When they need a play, he's typically the guy that can get a little bit of separation. I don't know the status of Amon Richards, how that hammy feels. He was shut down today, but the traffic today through that young man has been really well spent for Miami.
He's the first guy since Reggie Wayne to have a touchdown in each of his first 4 games. It came this season, and don't forget, or if you haven't heard, here's your reminder. Post-game press conference for Mark Richt is coming up on ESPN3. The Hurricanes head coach, who likely is going to say something about, once again, not putting teams away and not being dominant.
No doubt. And there, you talked about it. If they do it again maybe the next 2 weeks, they could easily drop one of those games, Virginia Tech or Notre Dame, because they're going to face teams that will take advantage of a window being left open.
Berrios gets turned around and clobbered at the 22. Drennan and Woolfolk. So 4th down. Carolina's still in this thing, but the one piece of good news for Miami is they win out, they're going to end up in the college football playoff. I mean, there's basically no argument against that, other than everybody else running the table too. But if you're in the ACC, you go undefeated, you got a really good shot at it.
Yeah, no doubt, because that means I think they had to get through. I believe Clemson comes out of the other side, and so there's a path there. But they're really skating on ultra thin ice going forward the next couple of weeks.
Fiegels with a wobbler to the sideline that checks up and out of bounds after 36 yards. So Miami is a favorite, according to FPI, to go ahead and win next time out against Virginia Tech. That's at home, so is the Notre Dame game. But today is not a wonderful sign of playability.
Yeah, your reputation is you're winning close games that you didn't win last year. But the reason you're in close games, it's kind of warning signs on the horizon. You know, a thunderstorm potentially is building when you play up Virginia Tech, has the offense to take advantage of it, or Notre Dame that I think is playing about as good as anybody in the entire country currently.
That's Ratliff Williams, who's thrown it a couple times in motion, and a screen that's tipped and incomplete.
Guys, I talked to the players this week about the idea of is Miami back? Is the U back? And the critics, and both Chris Herndon and Malik Rosier told me that we're not worried about what they say. If we go out and we blow out a team, that's going to make a statement itself. Interesting, when I asked Manny Diaz about it, he said, we don't even talk about winning. We talk about being physical and being tough, and if we do that, people will notice.
Elliott has wide open green grass in front of him. And he gets dumped by Jackson after a gain of 16. There's still 4.5 to play in this thing. And if that type of busted defense keeps happening, Hurricanes might be in trouble.
Yeah, find a way to get in the end zone, and it would make this really, really interesting down the stretch.
Elliott decides to run again and lean for a couple. Carolina with all 3 timeouts remaining. This is a North Carolina team that has only beaten Old Dominion this year. And with guys like Austin Prohl still healthy early in the season, played Cal very tough, played Louisville tough. Elliott sideline, Millette, and tipped away. There was some contact, but good coverage by Jackson, 3rd down.
Yeah, great coverage by Jackson. He got over the top of the receiver and batted it away.
If you're Mark Richt, what do you think your takeaway if you win this game is?
Well, the same thing as when he came into this game. It was, we have a defense that really, I think, is playing championship type defense. Give up some run game once in a while, but not often enough to really make that much of a difference.
Blitz coming, and it's incomplete. Floated to the side, and Johnson was the closest, Jaquan Johnson. So 4th down for North Carolina. And look, the 4 games Miami lost last year were by a total of 32 points.
Yeah.
So this is not that much different to Richt of a team than last season.
Exactly. So that's why I question right now whether they're the 8th best team in the country. Their defense is up to the challenge. Their offense hasn't been nearly consistent enough to win a championship, whether it's in conference or let alone be one of the 4 standing at the end in the college football playoff.
First rankings coming out in just 3 days as Johnson showing blitz from the safety spot. He's coming. And this is caught. Ratliff Williams. 1st down, North Carolina. They're not out of the woods yet.
Shaq Quarterman was coming underneath that route and trying to get under it. But Ratliff Williams went up and got it at its high point.
And that was a miscommunication. It was a stop and go. Ratliff Williams had the stop. Elliott had the go.
The throw was the go, and the stop was about 10 yards earlier downfield. But those are the things that I think a young quarterback has a hard time with, because it's about the softness of the corner, whether your receiver goes to the fade or runs the stop route, and not on the same page there.
Elliott again wide open to the left, and Elliott is ushered out of bounds by Johnson. 1st and goal, North Carolina.
Cue your best onside kick. That quarterback draw has shown up a few times today, and Elliott has a nifty little feel for that play. We talked about the running game needed to pay dividends for North Carolina today, and that's been one of the ways that it's done just that.
Elliott fading back, throws it out, and has a completion for a touchdown. The 2nd time today, Bo Corrales is in. Carolina has life.
North Carolina is going to keep the offense on the field right here and go for 2.
3 timeouts left for Carolina. Onside kick isn't even necessarily
exactly.
a guarantee.
Great point.
That was a 57-yard drive in 100 seconds.
And the timing from Nathan Elliott out to Bo Corrales, it was on time, on target, and it allowed Corrales to square up and eventually get that ball in the end zone.
Ratliff Williams in motion. Elliott rolling that way, and he throws it to the cheerleaders. They'll need a touchdown. 3:03 to go. And Bo Corrales gets him in for the second time.
And Nathan Elliott does a great job of going off his primary receiver and getting back to Bo Corrales up top. It's just going to be a simple slant route, coverage inside, stop, hit the outside shoulder, allow your receiver to square up, and then do something with it right there. Make one guy miss, and then get in the end zone. That's some really good stuff by Nathan Elliott, who hasn't had a lot of run. And then Bo Quarles is a true freshman that's shown up today as well.
Couple of Texans. That's Selena's Nathan Elliott and Georgetown, Texas's Bo Corrales. You gonna onside kick this? 3 timeouts?
A little over 3 minutes, 3 timeouts, and a defense that's been lights out. I kick it deep and have my defense hold the fort.
What about the fact that Miami has been really brutal today on a short field?
And that I do believe that plays into it. But I think right now I go with my defense, but it looks like they're going to try an onside kick and throw it down right here.
There is the onside kick, and Berrios is on it at the 45. Braxton Berrios, who's had a very nice day. The Hurricanes, who are right now held to their season low of 53 yards on the ground, do they have the ability to kill the clock with the run game?
And what you're looking for out of the onside kick is for that extra bounce right at the end, and North Carolina did not get that, and Berrios is certainly a sure-handed guy. But I like your point, Jason. When you have North Carolina defensively, coupled with the ineptitude of Miami on short fields, it gives you the ability to gamble on that onside kick, although it's an incredibly low percentage play in college football.
Ball loose! Homer put it on the deck! Oh my goodness gracious! Carolina's on it! Aaron Crawford, the recovery. Collins knocked it free. Unreal.
And it did not look like Homer really had that ball to begin with. He didn't secure it as he's getting into that line of scrimmage. The ball was coming out just a little bit.
Now Hurricane fans might be hearkening back to 04 and a late Connor Barth field goal in this very venue. This has been a really rough place for the Hurricanes in history. False start coming.
False start. Offense, number 54. 5-yard penalty, first down.
The center, Cam Dillard, on the false start. And you talk about Larry Fedora just trying to stay positive. We said, how do you change your standards in a season like this? He said, we're not going to change them, but we're also not going to reach them. This could be a season saver, at least mentally.
Yeah, the standard doesn't change. The goals that typically you meet by jumping over those standards, you're not going to get there. But his kids are playing incredibly well and incredibly hard.
That one's dropped by Fritz, the normally reliable junior. Second down.
And once again, a heady throw by Nathan Elliott. How about that young man? Coming into this game under duress against a Miami defense that's off the chart as far as the pressure numbers. Sacks, tackle for loss. Even when they don't get the quarterback on the ground, he's affected. That young man, Nathan Elliott, has stood in there and taken everything.
Second down, 15. Chased by Quarterman. Elliott turns it upfield, gets drilled, and a flag is coming. His teammates rush to his aid. And this is going to be a remarkably huge penalty.
Zach McLeod is going to get called for it, I believe, number 53, the Miami Hurricane linebacker. Nathan Elliott was well out of bounds, and that was a vicious hit, and they need to get these teams separated.
It was a gain of 8. Will they tack on 15? You would imagine so.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that this is going to be.
After the play, personal foul, defense, number 53, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Wow. Doesn't get much worse than that if you're Mark Richt.
And very quickly, Nathan Elliott is nearing big man on campus status.
Nathan Elliott had stepped out of bounds with that left foot. It was closer than I thought, however. Zach McLeod, I think it's still a good penalty. Nathan Elliott was clearly out of bounds.
First down, North Carolina. Trying to sink unbeaten Miami. Brown lost the ball. It's loose. Who will come out with it? Oh, what a time for an appearance of the turnover chain.
Jordan Brown was trying to get some yards after contact, and he just did not tuck the ball away. They say the 3 points of contact, and he just didn't secure the ball right there, clearly on the ground, and then it was a scrum. I think Joe Jackson, defensive end, had the initial contact that knocked that ball away. The number 99 definitely sliding down from the right defensive end position and hammers Jordan Brown and pops that ball loose.
Then Johnson and Norton ran into each other trying to recover it. Fourth turnover of the second half for Manny Diaz's defense. But Carolina does have 3 timeouts. Can Papuchis' defense get one more stop? Mouthguard went flying as Britt made the stop on Homer. Timeout, North Carolina. Boy, points off turnovers have been scarce, but the turnovers have been at high volume.
Yeah, abundant in this second half. And you wondered when the pressure that Miami's defense is constantly applying was going to start to pay dividends, and it did in this second half. The theme, however, if you're thinking about Miami as one of the 8 best teams in the country, is that Miami's offense simply does not make a habit of turning those turnovers into points.
That's our defensive spotlight, brought to you by Prestone. And it's really the offenses that have needed to be illuminated this afternoon on short fields. Again, Miami has not done a great job. 91st in the country this year in points off turnovers.
Yeah, I might have just said defense right there at the end. The defense takes it away in droves. Pressure numbers all over the map, and a Miami offense that just doesn't consistently get it done.
3 yards a carry today for Homer. He gets 2 on that one. And there's timeout number 2 for North Carolina. 3rd down and 5 coming up for the Hurricanes, who have to play Virginia Tech and Notre Dame in succeeding weeks. And the goal to remain unbeaten is on flimsy ground right now.
Yeah, and against Virginia Tech, if you think of that matchup, the Bud Foster defense for Virginia Tech isn't unlike what we're seeing out of North Carolina, not unlike we saw out of Florida State defensively, where a Miami offense had issues, and that's going to be a tough matchup against Bud Foster's defense if the offense isn't better than they have been today. And then Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is playing so well on both sides of the ball that also is going to be one that probably is nip and tuck, and an offense for Miami that just simply isn't exactly instilling confidence in the fan base.
Does Carolina have one more stop? Rozier carrying a tackler for a first down. Carney couldn't drive him down before the line to gain. And the most important chain of the day for Miami is moving. It's the first down marker.
And Malik Rozier has not looked good most of the day, particularly throwing the football. He's had a couple of moments, but uncomfortable to say the least. And I think Mark Richt is still trying to find out exactly what he has in that young man. Covered a lot of ground, but it's that type of thing you see out of Rozier. When you need a play, he typically is there to come up with something to eke his team by, and that might be what we see right now.
Why are you not taking a knee right here? There's one timeout left on the board. They're going to run it with Homer, and North Carolina uses that final timeout at 1:22. You take 2 knees, and then you run around. There's no reason to run a play here.
I don't get it.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't hand it off to Homer again. He put one on the ground. And remember, Travis Homer has done a great job, but he's in there because Mark Walton, a very productive running back, is out for the year. And it's in moments like this, the closeout moments, where you would really like that closer in Walton, but Homer put the ball on the ground one time, and you're right. Kneel on it twice and go home.
All right, so some of the key players for the Hurricanes today. Rozier, 16 of 38, 356, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Amon Richards, 1 catch for 11 yards on 5 targets. They're going to need more from him, don't you think?
No doubt. And that's why Berrios has been having big days, is because I think people are paying attention to Richards, rightly so, but alpha receivers have to find a way to get open, and Amon Richards has to start doing that.
Yes, this has not been a masterpiece for the Hurricanes at all. However,
it's all about winning, right?
Right, you win the game.
At the end of the game, it's all about winning. But I guarantee you that the head coach, Mark Richt, is still trying to find a way to put together the complete package, and this was not it.
What's your takeaway from the Hurricanes today as an unbeaten team and number 8 in the country?
I don't think they are number 8 in the country. I have them actually as 10 in a group of about 6 teams that any of them could be 8 through 10. An offense that doesn't seem up to the task in crucial moments, and a defense that will keep setting the table for them. But the offense has to take a step forward. And I think that starts with their quarterback, Malik Rozier. Been great at times this year, and now it's time to move forward, and he hasn't taken that next step.
And this is a game that's seen some anger on both sides. A big hit on Elliott, the 3rd-string quarterback for North Carolina. Now they're having to separate these
we
players.
Don't want that. We don't want to end the evening or the afternoon that way.
North Carolina gave it absolutely everything, but Miami's going to stay unbeaten and move to 7-0, building on its best ever start in the ACC.
Well, that's the bottom line. Miami's going to move to 7-0, 5-0 in the ACC. I mean, the bottom line is keep winning and you have a chance. But this was not a good impression made on the College Football Playoff Committee that is going to put their first rankings out on Tuesday.
If you're North Carolina, how does this game sit? We'll find out from Larry Fedora in the future as we check in with Chris.
Coach, another close one. You're used to these. What was the difference in the second half for you guys?
Well, for sure, defense and big plays on offense. It's about all we can muster on offense. Every so often we'd hit a big play and, get it in the end zone. But it's kind of sad that we couldn't get more consistency offensively. But defense really did a nice job. And of course, North Carolina did a very good job today as well.
Can I ask what you told Coach Fedora there at the end?
Oh, just good game, the normal stuff. What can you say?
I think you know who's next with Virginia. What did you learn from today that you can take into next week?
Well, we just can't be sloppy. And we were sloppy offensively. Defensively, certainly, there's a couple things here and there, but they're on the field too long. We all understand that. And we just got to do a better job of get some kind of drive going offensively.
I appreciate it, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Well, the Hokies are on the horizon. Those are the thoughts of Mark Richt, the winning coach today. Miami survives. So for our entire crew, Chris Button, Kelly Stauffer, Jason Benetti saying good day from Chapel Hill. Now out to Ames. Another unbeaten on the road. TCU, Iowa State coming your way.